our hearts back home. Hearts back home, the place I know, the place I go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this very, very significant event. This is the Doing Business in Jamaica Property Procurement Webinar, a collaborative effort organized by the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council Asia Pacific team and Integrated Diaspora Services, IDS. And if you're wondering, I'm Dervan Malcom, and I'll be your host for this Doing Business in Jamaica Property Procurement Webinar. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And no doubt you're still spreading the word even now as the live stream has started. We would like to acknowledge Senator the Honorable Leslie Campbell. He is the Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Her Excellency Ms. Shorna-Kay Richards, Ambassador of Jamaica to Japan. His Excellency Mr. Antonia Hugh, Ambassador of Jamaica to China. His Excellency Mr. Jason Hall, High Commissioner of Jamaica to India. Mrs. Melissa Price, Minister, Consular, and Deputy Head of Mission in China. We also expect some of the honorary consuls general to join us at some point as we continue with this stream. Those representatives will join us possibly from Australia, New Zealand, and some Southeast Asian countries. And we'll acknowledge these individuals as they join us. We thank you very much, those of you waking up with us in Jamaica at 26 minutes to 6 o'clock in the morning. I believe in China, it's about 26 minutes to 8 o'clock. And you can confirm, please feel free to use the chat and indicate where in the world you are and an idea of the time of day, but it's minutes to 8 in the evening. It's evening time in China. It's also evening time in Japan, nighttime in Australia, or as they say, Australia, which is about, I think it would be about 9:30 in the evening. In India, let's say Delhi, India, it's, I believe 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And as I said, would be happy to have you in the chat and sharing that kind of information as well. It's a pleasure to have you join us, and feel free. Okay, here's some confirmation. So it's 25 minutes to midday in the UK, and no doubt there are others who will chime in as the stream continues. But we thank you very much for being a part of this November 1st Doing Business in Jamaica Property Procurement Webinar. And we are going to, in a moment, take you through the paces of the proceedings. Coming up, Integrated Diaspora Services, IDS. We will learn more, those of us who are unaware. Those of us who are familiar with Integrated Diaspora Services will refresh our collective memory. We also look forward to hearing from Dr. Nicoleen Johnson. Dr. Nicoleen Johnson, who is in China, is the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council representative for the Asia Pacific region. And we also have the representative for the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council Northern region in the United Kingdom, Dr. Kevin Brown. He also chairs the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council Partnership Working Group. As we've indicated, we are looking forward to hearing from as well Her Excellency Ms. Shorna-Kay Richards, Jamaica's ambassador to Japan, and we will welcome a little later on the Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator the Honorable Leslie Campbell. We have quite a number of presentations to come. Quickly, just to run them through, we will be hearing from Andrew James, the Chairman of the Real Estate Board and Commission of Strata Corporations. He will speak, like all the other presenters, for 10 minutes, and then we'll take 5 minutes of questions. So we're going to ask you, please, to help us by making your questions as succinct as possible, as sharp as ever, so that we can get in as many questions as possible. So it's 10 minutes of presentation, 5 minutes opportunity to give feedback to the presenter or ask questions of the presenter. Leighton Smith is the Chief Representative Officer for VMBS overseas. He's based in the UK, and he'll be joining us as well. So too, Ms. Petal James, Chief of Branches, JN Bank, Dwayne Berbick, Manager Corporate and Public Affairs at the National Housing Trust, NHT, Tameka Jordan, Principal and Legal Consultant of MJ Law Global, a presentation by Lenworth Kelly, President of the Incorporated Master Builders Association of Jamaica. And then we'll hear of some upcoming events. Dr. Nicoleen Johnson will help us in that regard. And we will introduce later on those who, for whatever reason, will end up joining us a little later than the rest of us. We will welcome you. So please feel free to use up the chat, post your comments, your questions, and if you just want to greet us from and make it clear wherever in the world you are, exactly where you are, that's fine. Nordia Teape, the CEO of Integrated Diaspora Services Limited, one of the co-founders, along with Mr. Hurdit, and then we'll have closing remarks. So we're going to keep it as best as we can, as efficient as we can, so that we get the most out of this experience. And so right now I'm just going to take a quick look at the chat and see who else is messaging us. Right, welcome. Someone here is in Sydney. That's Stephanie in Sydney, Australia. Good to have you on board. Del Maria Richards is greeting us from Japan. Welcome, Del Maria Richards in Japan. From Ireland, Nicole Pitta. Good to have you on board, Nicole Pitta from Ireland. And you can keep those other messages coming in. How about that? Right now, though, we want to hear about Integrated Diaspora Services. As we said, this event, this webinar, is a collaborative effort, the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council Asia Pacific region, in partnership with Integrated Diaspora Services. And so let's take a look as we learn more about Integrated Diaspora Services.
Jamaica, land we love, full of so many beautiful places, memories, people, so rich in culture, resources, and opportunities, that it is more than enough to want to bring the heart back home. So many of us have left our homeland seeking new opportunities and exploration of the world, and now many of us in the diaspora are trying to find ways to show our love for our homeland and those we left behind. It is this unfulfilled need of the Jamaican diaspora that has inspired the creation of our company, Integrated Diaspora Services Limited. We help bridge the gap between what is and what could be for many Jamaicans living and working abroad. We provide access to the knowledge and support they need to conduct business transactions in Jamaica from anywhere in the world. Our vision is to bring the hearts back home for the betterment of our homeland, Jamaica. Through our worldwide service providers and partnerships, we provide care services that are designed to meet the many needs of the diaspora, spanning from their commercial and regulatory needs to the very personal and intimate needs of their families back home. That is why
the United States chooses IDS.
Ni hao, Jungo chinza IDS.
United Kingdom chooses IDS.
The Caribbean chooses IDS.
Kazakhstan, IDS, Tanzania.
Afrika inachagua mawazo ili kuleta uzalendo.
Kenya tunachagua IDS.
Canada chooses IDS.
Because they bring our hearts home.
let us help you bring your heart back home to Jamaica in the ways that matter most, both to you and your loved ones.
Heart back home to the things I know, to the place I know.
Now you know. Thank you very much, Team IDS. Thank you. Welcome to Demisha Blair in Jamaica, Remedios in the Philippines, where it's 7:43 p.m. Welcome from the Philippines. Keep those messages coming in. We are always excited to learn of some of the exotic and far-flung places in the world where we find Jamaicans. And so if you're just joining us, hola, bienvenue, ni hao, konnichiwa, etc., etc., etc. And in Jamaican, of course, how could we forget? Wagwan, manin. Thank you so much for joining us. And now we are going to invite the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council representative for the Asia and Pacific region, Dr. Nicoleen Johnson, to give us an insight into the essence of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and related matters.
Thank you, Sir Malcolm. Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, indeed. Welcome.
Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. It's so wonderful to have you hosting us today. It's always great to see you. Always great to have you on board. I'd like to say, Senator, the Honorable Leslie Campbell, the Minister of State and the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Her Excellency, Ms. Shorna-Kay Richards, our Ambassador of Jamaica to Japan, His Excellency, Mr. Antonio Hugh, Ambassador of Jamaica to China, His Excellency, Mr. Jason Hall, our High Commissioner of Jamaica to India, Mrs. Melissa Price, our Minister Counselor and Deputy Head of Missions in China, our distinguished keynote speakers and other distinguished guests, my fellow Jamaicans and friends of Jamaica from all over the world, good morning, good afternoon, and good night. Like we say in China, Zhao Shang Hao, Xia Wu Hao, Wan Shang Hao. Huaning Huaning Daja, welcome, welcome everyone. We're so happy to have you join us today as we're having our first webinar for our diaspora in the Asia and Pacific region. A number of you have shared with me that you were not aware of the GJDC and our role. So let me take this opportunity to introduce you briefly to who we are and what we're hosting and why we're hosting this event today, and in collaboration with the Integrated Diaspora Services Group. So what is a GJDC? The Global Jamaica Diaspora Council was formed by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade in January of 2020. We are a group that consists of elected members representing Canada, the United Kingdom, and the United States, as well as appointed members representing Africa, the Caribbean, Latin America, the Middle East, Europe, and of course us in Asia and the Pacific region. We also have sector-based members who are also appointed by the ministry, and these represent the following sectors. We have arts, sports and culture, We have citizen security, commerce, development issues, education, faith-based community, as well as health and wellness. We have a diaspora youth arm with representatives in Canada, in the US, and the UK. And this is providing a platform to engage our diaspora youths. So we are a relatively large group. We're a team of approximately 30 individuals, and we have been invited to be advisors to the ministry in our various jurisdictions and our areas of expertise. That's who we are, okay? So in a nutshell, the council is a mechanism for strengthening collaboration and engagement among and within the Jamaica diaspora. And that's why we are here tonight. One of the reasons why we're here tonight is to accomplish this. The council representatives have been further divided into 5 working groups to address specific issues which contribute to the overall sustainable development of Jamaica. And these are the People Group, a Prosperity Working Group, a Planet Working Group, a Peace Working Group, and a Partnership Working Group. This event is an extension of our Partnership Working Group on which I am a member. The ethos of our Partnership Working Group is really to establish and strengthen multiple stakeholders' partnership to facilitate the goals of the National Development Program. Dr. Kevin Brown, who we'll be hearing from next, will further address this topic. So we will be hosting webinars, we'll be planning other initiatives in collaboration with the missions in the region to engage you, our diaspora. And our objective tonight really is providing you with an overview of the process of doing business in Jamaica. And specifically tonight, as Dervan has mentioned, we will be addressing or highlighting procuring property in Jamaica. This is the feedback I got from some of you have been sharing about what issues that you've been having and what you'd love to hear us address. And this is why we have chosen this topic for tonight. We are identifying partner companies who can assist the diaspora through the process and giving specific guidance to you. That's what we hope to accomplish tonight. And for a secondary objective for our meeting here tonight on this webinar is to provide an opportunity for diaspora in the region to get connected. I know that a lot of you don't realize that we actually have Jamaicans living in different parts of the region. So we hope that tonight through this webinar, you'll be able to see and connect with people living in Japan, in India, in Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, all over the region, that you'll be able to connect, and we can keep in touch and we can work together so that we can empower each other and empower and build Jamaica actually. So that's our plan. We hope to have future events and we would love to hear from you. So you have my email contact on the flyer. Please do email me. I would love to get some more information. I will also post it in the chat because we're looking at other webinars that we'd love to host. We are considering doing a webinar on bank accounts, how you can open a bank account or access your bank account while living in this region, or investments, pensions in Jamaica, probably partnering with JAMPRO to look at business opportunities for diaspora in Jamaica, looking at investments, shipping and logistics, these types of topics, what we've been, yes, I saw that, yes, we will be addressing bank accounts. So we hope to hear from you and we hope to get your feedback so that we can provide the webinars that would assist you. And we will partner with the different missions here to accomplish that. So thank you for joining us tonight. We have a lot to cover, so I won't take any more of your time, but I just want to say welcome. Thank you for being a part of this. Please share and let us hear from you. And we hope that you will learn a lot tonight. Okay, thank you very much. Back to you, Dervan.
Thank you. 谢谢我的朋友. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Johnson, Dr. Nicoleen Johnson, Global Jamaica Diaspora Council Representative for Asia and the Pacific. And you did hear reference to the working groups, and we're going to hear from Dr. Kevin Brown, who chairs the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council Partnership Working Group, and as well as the iHub project. Dr. Brown has responsibility for the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council North UK, from where he joins us now. Dr. Brown, welcome.
Thank you very much, Dervan. Senator the Honorable Leslie Campbell, Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Her Excellency Ms. Shorna-Kay Richards, Ambassador of Jamaica to Japan, His Excellency Mr. Antonio Hugh, Ambassador of Jamaica to China, His Excellency Mr. Jason Hall, High Commissioner to Jamaica, of Jamaica to India, Mrs. Melissa Price, Minister Counsel and Deputy Head of Missions in China, members of Jamaican consulates and embassies and high commissions the world over, members of the diaspora community the world over, because I know that although we're focusing on the Asia Pacific diaspora in this webinar, members of the diaspora from other regions have also joined as well. So good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. It's certainly a pleasure to be part of this webinar. My role today is to speak briefly about the workings of the Partnership Working Group on the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. And I want to introduce you to two of our cornerstone projects, which I hope in the future you will all get involved in, because these projects are definitely geared towards improving engagement with the diaspora. So I'm just gonna launch a presentation. We shall get going. So my colleague, Dr. Nicoleen Johnson, introduced the workings of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and the Partnerships Working Group. She spoke about the fact that the Council has 5 working groups which allow us to deliver tangible outputs. So we're not just on the Council to attend meetings and to advise the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but we're also trying to deliver tangible projects as well. The Partnership Working Group is really aimed at establishing and strengthening multiple stakeholder partnerships in a very sustainable manner, and also focused on delivering the national diaspora policy. So our remit in terms of engagement is across a wide range of institutions and bodies, including ministries, international community partners, of course, the diaspora across the globe, the private sector, NGO, and civil society. And so it's quite a big remit that we have. But what I want to talk to you about today is one of our main projects, the iHub, and also I'll introduce what we're calling the Birthright Program. In terms of those who sit on the Partnership Working Group, you've heard from Dr. Nicoleen Johnson, but we also have other members, including Bishop Ransford Jones, who is based in Canada. He's also the faith-based community rep on the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council. We have Mrs. Elizabeth Mullins-Smith, who's based in the UK. She's also the Development Issues rep on the council, and she chairs the Planet Working Group. We have Kashane Denton, based in Canada, who is the chair of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council. And we have Dr. Kim Marie Spence, who's based in Ireland. She's also arts, sports, and culture rep on the council. We have support from the ministry through Mr. Lloyd Wilkes, who is he sits on our working group, but he's also the director of the Diaspora Affairs Department in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. And then we have strategic partners in the form of Integrated Diaspora Services, and also Mr. Jason Scott, who is our digital technology advisor. He works for Grace Kennedy General Insurance. So the first project I want to speak to you about is the Jamaica Diaspora Partnerships iHub, and this is a working title, and I here means interactive. The aim here is to develop an online portal, something completely digital, online, that's accessible to the diaspora wherever you are in the world. And what we want to do is to increase and improve engagement between the diaspora and stakeholders in Jamaica, but also improve interactions between diaspora regions. And we believe an online tool could be such a an appropriate vehicle. Why do we need this portal at this time? Well, how we engage with the diaspora is certainly changing. In the past, we would look at the diaspora for remittances and financial investment. But there is now a change, not just in terms of Jamaica, but the world over. Governments and countries are looking at the diaspora with respect to harnessing knowledge and skills. And so it's all about sort of knowledge remittances rather than financial remittances. How can we benefit from the vast amount of professional experience that the diaspora has, so as to allow them to contribute to nation building? So the aim here really is to develop a tool to facilitate that exchange of knowledge and to tap into the human capital within the diaspora. Currently, what the challenge we face is that if you want to interact with Jamaica, there's no one portal that you can go to get information. And even government ministries, most of them do not have a dedicated diaspora website with information that would be relevant to your circumstances. And the other challenge you face is that in terms of finding the diaspora, and where we are and how to interact with each other is also challenging. So the plan here is to develop an online interactive tool, a sort of global digital space that the diaspora can collaborate with stakeholders in Jamaica, but also between each other. The aim is to launch a consultation process so that it is sort of built bottom up, so it's designed by the diaspora, and it will be a completely sort of online interactive platform. The aim is to allow you, as I said, to exchange knowledge and skills, but also to engage in whatever activities you deem appropriate. The portal should allow you to facilitate that. So an example of that is one feature we want to build into the portal is a sort of Google Earth map, but focused on the diaspora. So you can only get information on the Jamaican diaspora through this map that we're going to build into the platform. So you should be able to go in there and find the diaspora, find diaspora leaders, find diaspora organizations, find diaspora companies, and it should allow you to interact directly with them as well. So that's one tool that we're planning to put in there. So where are we with this project? Well, we've launched it. We launched it in June at the Diaspora Symposium, and we're now currently building out the proposal, looking at finding funding. We're hoping by January we can actually start developing the actual web tools to have the portal ready to be presented to the diaspora at the next diaspora conference in June next year. The last project I want to talk to you about very quickly is the Jamaica Birthright Program. This is something that we recently launched, and it came out of the recent Diaspora Symposium. The aim of this project is to reconnect the diaspora, and especially the second, third, fourth, and fifth generation. We want to bring them home and submerge them into their Jamaican identity and culture, and really get the young diaspora engaged. Certainly in the UK, Jamaicans who came to the UK in the 50s, 60s, and 70s maintain a strong connection with Jamaica. Now we need to target their children and their grandchildren. And so this program is hoping to take them home to do that. So at the moment, we have a small group of us working on that. So myself and Kashane from the council, but we're also working with Mrs. Caroline Mahfood from Grace Kennedy Foundation. They already have a birthright program, and the plan is to have a more expanded version of it. So there'll be 4 legs to this new project, where we will engage young diaspora, I say young, between 18 and 35 years old, to bring them home, either to have a cultural experience, to have an internship in government or private sector companies, to have a multi-faith experience if they so choose, or also to have a more long-term sort of fellowship experience where we invite highly experienced individuals in the diaspora to embed in a government or private sector company. So that's currently being worked up, and again, we're trying to get that up and ready by next year, June. We might have to introduce it in phases, but the plan is to at least have 1 or 2 packages ready to launch next year, June. So those are the two main projects that we're launching. And if anyone wants more information or wants to help, because we're always open to getting more help, then do get in touch, do send me an email, and we'd be happy to hear from you. But I'm going to leave it there, but thank you very much for the opportunity. And you know, I look forward to hearing from the other speakers. Thank you, Dervan.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Brown. It's a very, very exciting prospect that you have presented. And we are so looking forward to it materializing in short order. Coming to bring greetings right now from Jamaica's overseas missions in the Asia Pacific region, Her Excellency Ms. Shorna-Kay Richards, Ambassador of Jamaica to Japan.
Thank you, Konbanwa, Mr. Malcom. Thank you for hosting us. Senator, the Honorable Leslie Campbell, Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, His Excellency Antonio Hugh, Ambassador of Jamaica to Japan, to China, I should say. His Excellency Jason Hall, High Commissioner of Jamaica to India, Honorary Consuls in the Asia Pacific region, Dr. Nicoleen Johnson, Asia Pacific Representative, the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, Dr. Kevin Brown, who is Chair of the Partnership Working Group on the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, guest speakers, Jamaicans in the Asia Pacific region. A pleasant good evening to you all in this region, and good morning to those of you who are joining us virtually from Jamaica. It gives me great pleasure to bring greetings on behalf of Jamaica's diplomatic missions in the Asia Pacific region. Let me take this opportunity to especially acknowledge my colleagues, Ambassador Antonio Hugh and High Commissioner Jason Hall. Our three missions are resident in Japan, in China, and India. But together we also cover 13 other countries in this region where Jamaicans call home. At the outset, we wish to commend the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and the Integrated Diaspora Services for organizing tonight's Doing Business in Jamaica Property Procurement webinar. I must also extend special thanks to Dr. Nicoleen Johnson, the Asia Pacific representative on the GJDC, for her role in the process. This evening's webinar is significant for two reasons. Firstly, this is the first major event in this region that is being organized by the Council. And secondly, and just as important, it seeks to give you, our valid diasporans, an opportunity to explore the acquisition of property in Jamaica and how to go about doing so. As you know, the government of Jamaica has long recognized the tremendous value of the diaspora and has been putting in place a policy framework to make our engagement both meaningful and mutually beneficial. As we speak, the government continues to fine-tune its national diaspora policy to achieve this objective. One important achievement that we were able to accomplish last year was the establishment of the GJDC in January 2020, as Dr. Nicoleen Johnson mentioned earlier. To date, the Council has been working closely with Jamaica's overseas missions around the world in delivering services and initiatives for your benefit. I'm sure that my colleagues will join in expressing thanks to the GJDC for its collaborative efforts, which continue to supplement the work of our mission. This evening's webinar is one tangible result of our collaboration. As you know, regardless of where they are in the world, Jamaicans maintain a close and active relationship with their homeland. Many of you in the diaspora continue to contribute to national development through direct family support in the form of remittances, as well as other charitable and philanthropic initiatives. Over the past few years, we have also seen a growing interest among our diasporans in returning home to retire, to work, or invest. Whether your interest is in personal home ownership or other real estate options, this webinar is for you. The GJDC and the Integrated Diaspora Services have put together a range of speakers representing housing, construction, legal, and financial service providers in the island. Today, the speakers will provide their insights into all you need to know about property procurement while living overseas. They'll also be on hand to respond to your questions about the processes involved. We hope that you will find these presentations useful and that they will help you to take advantage of the services at your disposal. In closing, let me reiterate the commitment of our 3 missions to advance in the interests of our diaspora in Asia Pacific. Thank you very much and have a productive webinar.
Thank you, or should I say arigato gozaimasu. Wherever in the world you are, thank you once again for joining us. Today, the 1st of November, 2021, as we host Doing It Business in Jamaica, Property Procurement webinar, which is a collaborative effort of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council and Integrated Diaspora Services. And now let's hear from the Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator the Honorable Leslie Campbell.
Morning, Dervan. Thanks very much. I hope you're hearing me and seeing me.
Yes, yes, we can see clearly now.
Oh, very well. Thanks much. Well, let me thank you. And you make me feel rather unlearned. You see, with all those books that you have in your library,
no, it's just a sign of how little I know. That's what it is.
No, having absorbed it all. Well, let me thank you and thank all the people who have they stayed up late, and some are just waking up for being here. And I see Miss Jordan there. I won't compete with her, you know, because I know she's a better lawyer than I am. Well, thank you, Dervan, again, and High Commissioner Jason Hall, High Commissioner Jamaica to India, Ambassador Hugh, Embassy of Jamaica, the People's Republic of China, Ambassador Shorna-Kay Richards, Embassy of Japan, Dr. Nicoleen Johnson, member of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Partnership Working Group, Dr. Kevin Brown, who is chairing that group, and all especially invited guests, my Jamaican family and friends of Jamaica. Well, it is quite nice and bright outside. So let me send you, wherever you are, a very warm morning, very warm evening or afternoon, depending on where you are. It's just so wonderful. Technology has put us in this place where we can connect, and because when we do face-to-face, it was never like this. But let me thank you again. Allow me first of all to congratulate the organizers for their decision to stage this webinar. The efforts of the Partnership Working Group and the key diaspora stakeholders in this activity is proof that genuine partnerships can produce the results we want once clear goals and parameters are agreed. It is our understanding that property procurement is a subject in which many of you have an interest. In this regard, I'm certain that the distinguished set of speakers here this morning have been specially selected to provide answers to your questions and to guide you on the most efficient path forward to realizing your dreams and aspirations. I extend my appreciation to the presenters who have graciously agreed to share their early morning with us or to share their expertise. Ladies and gentlemen, I will not engage you on the merits of investing in Jamaica, as you are about to receive the latest information on one of the most lucrative investment opportunities in Jamaica. It is also one of the most important decisions that you will make as a returning resident or retiree on your return to Jamaica. I will instead use this opportunity to ensure that you are aware of some of the activities and strategies being pursued by the government as it relates to the diaspora, and perhaps to persuade you to participate in our Building Back Stronger engagement activities. As Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade with responsibility for diaspora affairs, one of my roles is to ensure that the government's engagement strategy with the diaspora is deepened and strengthened. My engagement with you this morning is part of that strategy and a testament to the value we place on expanding our reach to the Asia-Pacific region in particular. The strategies and mechanisms we have been developing include the National Diaspora Policy, the establishment of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, and the Global Jamaica Diaspora Youth Council, the Education Trust, as well as the Health and Wellness Foundation, which are designed to assist in the process of receiving donations from the diaspora community. You may be aware that many of our traditional mechanisms in place, namely the staging of the biennial diaspora conference, high-level visits and outreach activities undertaken by our overseas missions, have been severely curtailed by the pandemic. On that note, we encourage you to communicate with your respective missions, which are there to protect and promote you in the interest of the countries under their jurisdiction. You will find that they are very resourceful and will provide you with the support you need within the constraints of their available financial and human resources, as outlined by Ambassador Richards in her remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council was designed to strengthen diaspora engagement. The Council has a work program and working groups which are guided by the 5 pillars of planet, peace, partnership, people, and prosperity, which are consistent with the Sustainable Development Goals. Their work is also being guided by the National Diaspora Policy. This webinar under the Partnership Working Group serves the purpose of providing you with the necessary information to pursue opportunities in Jamaica, which are beneficial to you and to Jamaica in general. The Global Jamaica Diaspora Council recently collaborated with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade at the Jamaica Diaspora Sustainability Symposium in June. A total of 1,063 registrants from 40 countries participated in the symposium and related activities over the 1.5-day program. The participants were from the traditional diaspora locations of the USA, UK, and Canada, as well as several countries in Asia, Africa, South America, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. We are indeed grateful for the remarkable support of each and every council member, our legacy partners, MDAs, and most importantly, the working groups whose active involvement not only ensured a positive outcome, but clearly demonstrated what is possible when we work together. As outlined by Dr. Brown earlier, one of the initiatives which was presented by the Partnership Working Group at the symposium was the proposal to develop an online diaspora portal to enable effective and sustainable diaspora partnerships. It will facilitate collaboration with stakeholders in Jamaica and or each other. The People Working Group also presented a proposal at the conference entitled Preparing All Children and Youth for the Future Economy, a pipeline to transform the skills landscape for success in a world of globalization. We expect to have more information on developments of this initiative shortly. We look forward to working with all the working groups and team leads in the organization of next year's conference. The National Diaspora Policy, which was tabled as a green paper in 2020, has been developed as the institutional framework for engagement with the diaspora and contains a number of proposals for further strengthening and mainstreaming engagement with the diaspora. The ministry has completed the second and final round of the consultations with stakeholders and has reviewed and updated the draft, which will shortly be submitted to the Houses of Parliament for approval as a white paper. I'm also pleased to advise that the ministry is actively engaged in discussions with an international partner to develop and fund a plan of action to accompany the National Diaspora Policy. We hope to be able to provide you with further update in the very near future. Many of you may not be aware that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade strengthened its institutional capacity through the creation of a new Diaspora Protocol and Consular Division in 2017, within which a dedicated Diaspora Affairs Department was created. The primary objective of the department is to give more focus and deliberate attention to the execution of the entire spectrum of diaspora engagement activities and initiatives. In this regard, the department is mandated to develop and strengthen the linkages between the government of Jamaica and the Jamaican diaspora, with a view to building relationships and encouraging participation in all aspects of national development. We invite members of the Jamaican diaspora in the Asia-Pacific region to familiarize themselves with the policy, Vision 2030, our overseas missions, and all the other mechanisms available, with a view to facilitating better communication and partnerships. We have traditionally focused on the 3 main destination countries and have not spent enough time on the Asia-Pacific region. When we formed the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, however, we were determined to expand our reach, and we are proud that the Asia-Pacific region is the first to benefit from the Partnership Working Group's outreach activity. It is my hope that beyond this webinar, Jamaicans in this region will think about how best we can engage in mutually beneficial activities, which include you, our diaspora members, as development actors. It is our hope that partnerships within existing mechanisms, most important of which is collaboration with our missions, will be further strengthened in the years to come. We recognize the value that the diaspora populations bring to development efforts at home, not just as senders of remittances, but also as sources of human capital and direct and indirect investments. To that extent, engagement strategies have to be targeted to the unique situation of each region. We invite you to think about the areas of interest that should be targeted so that webinars such as this one can be organized as a best practice. Ladies and gentlemen, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade proposes to host the 9th Biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference in June 2022. The conference, which is the Ministry's flagship forum for engaging with Jamaicans across the globe, will be convened under the chairmanship of Senator Don Webby, Group Chief Executive Officer of the Grace Kennedy Limited. The conference will coincide with Jamaica's 60th anniversary of independence and is expected to build on the achievements of previous conferences. The Sustainability Symposium present a program and content through consultation with all stakeholders, including the diaspora, as well as to, among other things, highlight the ministry's achievement over the past 60 years in relation to diaspora engagement. The conference is likely to be hosted in hybrid format, taking into account the ongoing impact of the pandemic. Further information on the conference will be provided as soon as the relevant consultations are held with key stakeholders. We look forward to your valuable input and participation in due course. Finally, allow me to bring you up to date on the preparations for the 60th anniversary of Jamaica's independence. The Ministry of Culture, Gender, Entertainment and Sport is organizing a year-long program of activities to mark this important milestone. In addition, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade has established a planning committee to organize activities highlighting the work and the remarkable achievements of the ministry over the past 60 years. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, our National Development Plan Vision 2030 highlights the need to strengthen mechanisms to facilitate diaspora contributions to development, including volunteerism and investment. The intention is to engage the diaspora in supporting economic development through direct investments and business development. We believe that this webinar is a step in the right direction in this regard. We sincerely thank you for joining us, and we hope that the matters discussed will lead to further interest in doing business in Jamaica. We look forward to a 2022 which is filled with promise and hope for a brighter future. We anticipate greater engagement with you, our valuable diaspora family, and hope that we can meet with you face to face as we continue to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic and build back stronger together. We're grateful for your support and stand ready to support you in your endeavors in the countries where you reside. Thank you. Good evening.
Thank you very much, Senator the Honorable Leslie Campbell, the Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Looking forward to 2022, all things being well, and that 9th biennial Jamaica Diaspora Conference. Coming up next, we are going to have our presentations. Those of us who are on the ground here in Jamaica, moving around, would recognize tremendous development of both residential and commercial properties. And who better to give us a picture of what's happening, to paint a picture of what's happening here in Jamaica as far as property procurement is concerned, than the chairman of the Real Estate Board and Commission of Strata Corporations, Mr. Andrew James.
Good morning, Dervan.
There
How are
you
you?
are. I am doing well, thanks. Good to see you. Welcome.
Thank you. Same here. Good morning to each and every one. All protocols observed. On behalf of the Board of Directors, I want to say a big thank you to the organizers for this webinar. And of course, want to share the role and function of the Real Estate Board this morning. Now, the functions of the board is to regulate and monitor the practice of real estate, as well as the sale of land through development schemes. The functions of the Real Estate Board are outlined on Section 5 of the Real Estate Dealers and Developers Act. In the execution of its functions, the board has a power, listen Dervan, to consider and determine applications for registration as real estate dealers and real estate salesmen, and license and renewal of license to engage in the practice of real estate business as real estate dealers and real estate salesmen. In addition, to monitor the activities of real estate developers. Now, also the board make inquiries and collect information as it may think necessary for the purpose of carrying out its functions. To hold and conduct examinations of applicants for registration as real estate dealers and real estate salesmen, as it deemed necessary. Generally, to take all such other lawful measures as it may consider necessary to assist in its carrying out of its function under this Act, in protecting the mutual interests of persons entering into land transaction. So most importantly, we're here to protect investors when they're involved they engage in any real estate transaction, and also support developers, investors into this real estate industry. I also want to point out there are some restrictions. So no person should practice real estate in Jamaica. I just want to make this clear, unless you're a holder of a valid license authorizing him or her to do so, issued by the board and upon the payment of the prescribed fee. So you should not be engaged in a real estate transaction, selling of property on behalf of someone without your license to do so. I want to make that very clear. There are a number of persons who are interested in becoming developers, and I just want to share something about if you want to become a developer. Registration is required, I must point out, is required where the number of lots into which the land is intended to be subdivided exceeds 5, or where the number of units or strata lots exceeds 5, or where the person carrying out or proposing to carry out the development scheme is carrying out or has carried out the development scheme of whatever size in the last 24 months. A registered developer is required to renew his or her registration with the board on April 1st annually. So in terms of registering for the 1st of April each year, developer should renew his license, his or her license. There's a register. The board maintains a register of all real estate dealers, salesmen, and developers approved by the board. The register is kept at the office of the board and is available for inspection by the public during work office hours. It may also be viewed online. I just want to make mention of advertising of development. When developers advertise units or lots for sale, the Real Estate Dealers and Developers Act stipulates that the advertisement must state clearly from whom the approvals for the scheme were obtained, where and when the plans, drawings, and specification may be inspected, estimated time of commencement and completion of the scheme, and the location of the land and its physical features. The board of directors may take the decision to declare a development scheme as failed by virtue of its function in monitoring the activities of developers and the determination that the units cannot be completed and handed over. In enforcing the charge, the board may take the necessary steps to take control of the trust account being held for the purchasers and sell the property to allow for refund purchasers in development schemes. So the real estate board is here to protect your investment. I want to talk, the board has put an interest. The board will also register an interest on the title via mortgage. The charge protects the purchasers who have paid in the development scheme prior to the development being completed. This charge is lodged in instances where the purchaser's funds have been used in compliance with what is permissible under the Real Estate Dealers and Developers Act. This charge allows the board to protect the purchaser's funds until their contractual obligation has been fulfilled, and in the event of the developer is not able to complete the development scheme, we are able to negotiate, protect, and dispose of the property. Now, let's talk about the Code of Ethics, and let me quickly point this out. Specific to its monitoring functions, the board ensures that regulated real estate professionals abide by the Real Estate Dealers and Developers Regulation Code of Ethics. This demands that they conduct their affairs with integrity and honesty. They should also desist from any conduct which can potentially bring the profession into disrepute. Among the legislative as well as general best practice guidelines, real estate professionals are expected to follow include ensuring that the content of the advertisement published by him or her comply with the requirements of the Act and regulation. This includes the accuracy of the content of advertisement and include the name, registration information of the professionals involved, as much information about the land unit as is practical. One of the functions of the board also owns and operates the Real Estate Training Institute. The institute provides pre-licensing courses for real estate dealers, salesmen, property managers. It also provides anti-money laundering training, local land law examination, and continued professional development. Last but by no means least, the Commission of Strata Corporation. In 2010, the Commission of Strata Corporation, CSC, was established under an amendment to the Registration of Strata Titles Act. The functions of the Commission are: 1, monitor, regulate, supervise corporations incorporated under the Act. 2, keep a register of such corporation to be known as the Register of Strata Corporations. 3, facilitate the resolution of disputes, in particular those between a corporation and a proprietor arising from any matter to which this Act relates. Also, consider complaints from proprietors that the amount of contribution levied is unreasonable or inequitable, and of course, enforce the bylaws. So let me quickly put on another cap as the Managing Director of A.S. James and Associates Limited, Real Estate Dealers and Develop and Valuers. Now, if you're buying property in Jamaica, it's an easy process. 1, you need to find a reputable realtor. As I said, you can check the Real Estate Board website. You'll see the list of registered practitioners. So whether a dealer or salesman, you can find on the Real Estate Board website, which I can share with you as soon as I'm finished, or you can contact us at A.S. James and Associates. 2, this realtor will guide you through the process. Once you have identified the property and your offer is accepted, I recommend that you retain an attorney to protect your interests. 2, whether or not you are taking a loan, I recommend that you get a valuation report and a land surveying report. My friends, now is the time to invest in Jamaica. Lower down payment, in some cases as low as 5% on the open market. Lower interest rates, and I'm sure that the other practitioner will share with you the low interest rates that are available now if you want to purchase property in Jamaica. Lower transaction costs than before. We welcome developers, investors. Listen, there's a great demand for properties in Jamaica right now. Take advantage of it. The prices are going up. I thank you. Good morning.
Thank you. You're spot on, Mr. James. 10 minutes is the scheduled presentation time, and you have done your presentation for not just one, but 2 entities in 10 minutes. Very good. So now, questions for those online, please take full advantage. This is the chairman of the Real Estate Board and Commission of Strata Corporation in Jamaica. And so feel free to pose your questions to him. Andrew James, of course, he himself is a practitioner in the real estate field. And so he's ready to take your questions. You have 5 minutes in which for us to get in as many questions as possible. Here is one in the chat. Type your questions in the chat. Can foreigners purchase land in Jamaica, Mr. James?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
That's easy. And that question came from Remedios Guerrero in the Philippines. Right. I remember that name from earlier on. And let's see who else. When you say lower rates, how low, for example?
Lower rates in terms of, so the banks will share with you as low as, and I don't know what VMBS and JN will share this morning. They might have a special, I don't know. But and our interest rates in the region of 6%, they're about 6.5%. So you'll hear from them later on.
Great. Thank you very much. Somebody saying, can you post your info and contact? I'm sure that can be done quite easily.
Sure.
Right. And this one, what is the progress of JPS price regulations? The JPS is charging outrageous power billing costs. Well, I would imagine, Mr. James, that more people are solarizing.
Solar, yes. Yes, and it's being encouraged.
Mm-hmm. And go ahead. Can the entire purchasing process be completed remotely while out of the country?
Yes, it can. And as I mentioned earlier, I recommend that you retain an attorney who will assist the process.
Right. This one says, you briefly mentioned the process. Find a realtor, get an attorney, do a land survey and valuation report.
Yeah. So as I said, the first thing is to find a realtor. Once you find that realtor can guide you in terms of 1, an attorney, 2, the mortgage, if you're taking a loan, the mortgage company that will that you might be getting the loan from. So that realtor can guide you through the process. But very simple process, as I said. 1, you sit with that realtor, look at what your needs are, and so you might be interested in an apartment opposed to a house, and that realtor will find the property as soon as your offer is accepted. And I must let you know, right now, properties are really in demand, so you might have to be prepared to put your best foot forward, because as I say, demand and supply. Now is the time to invest. If you don't do it now, you're going to pay at least twice the price the next time around.
Right, got you. More questions coming in. Phoenix, please send me an email regarding rates. Oh, that's somebody from NCB. How is it different if using NHT loan?
Well, NHT is here and they will speak, but if you're buying a property that NHT development, then it can be 100% financing where you don't have to come up with the deposit. They will lend you depending. But I'm sure I don't want to steal Mr. Berbick's
let's leave that.
thunder.
Yes. Let's leave that alone outside the off stump in cricketing terms. Leave that for NHT. I think that's pretty much it for now. In any case, the 5 minutes have expired, the 5 minutes of questions and your answers. Thank you very much, Andrew James.
Thank you, sir.
Although I see more coming in, but I'm sure you could oblige by just answering some of these in the chat as best as you can.
Okay.
Or contact information that they can get more details.
All right.
But
thank you very much, sir.
It's been a pleasure.
All the
Take
best.
care.
Good,
You
good.
too. Andrew James, Chairman of the Real Estate Board and Commission of Strata Corporations. As you have heard, each presenter has 10 minutes to put forward his or her presentation, and then we allow for 5 minutes for questions and answers. So right now we're going to the Chief Representative Officer, VMBS Overseas, Mr. Leighton Smith, who is somewhere in the United Kingdom.
Hi, Chair. Morning, Dervan, and morning to everyone. Certainly thank you for that introduction. I'm just wanting to check, Dervan, we can share our screens. I'm unable to share the presentation.
Sure, the technical team will allow you, and you should get the notification in due order that you can in fact start sharing. So as soon as you get that.
So until then, let me first of all, again, acknowledge His Excellency, Senator Leslie Campbell, Minister of State in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Also, Her Excellency Ms. Shorna-Kay Richards, Ambassador of Jamaica to Japan. We also want to recognize His Excellency Antonio Pugh, Ambassador of Jamaica to China, and His Excellency Jason Hall, High Commissioner of Jamaica to India. As well, Dr. Kevin Brown, Chair of the GJDC, and also Dr. Nicoleen Johnson, who is a representative for Asia Pacific. I also want to acknowledge the presence of my fellow presenters and esteemed industry colleagues, Andrew James, my friend there, Petal James from Jamaica National, Dwayne Berbick, NHT, Tameka Jordan, who I'm familiar with as well, and also Lenworth Kelly. Other esteemed guests and those who are joining us this morning, welcome. Okay, great. I can now share my screen. So my presentation will be 10 minutes, and as such, then we'll have some questions and answers. Okay, so in terms of Victoria Mutual, Victoria Mutual has been an institution that has been around for over 140 years. Mutuality is in our DNA, and by that what we mean is that we want to help Jamaicans at home or in the diaspora to achieve financial well-being and also financial inclusion. We're committed to mutuality, and as we said before, it's in our DNA. So these are our member companies within the group. You have Victoria Mutual Building Society, which is the flagship SBU. We have wealth management, pensions, money transfer, property services, investment. We have a foundation, insurance, and also when it comes to commercial lending, there's Victoria Mutual Finance Limited. What has been our purpose? To help those who truly desire financial wellness. It is by means of combining our expertise with value-added solutions, and therefore we chart a course for success. Now, today we're here to talk about mortgages. And of course, there are many individuals who are in the diaspora who are interested in mortgages. So how can you be assisted to achieve that desire of home ownership? Well, what has happened is that we have, of course, products and services that can help persons to achieve that goal. It starts with saving. I'm sure my colleagues, industry colleagues will tell you the same thing. We have to save to get what we want. We're familiar with the idiom, one cocoa, full basket, and therefore it rings true. So you have to find the perfect solution to help you to achieve that goal of home ownership. And why it's important, because you have your deposit, which as Andrew James mentioned earlier, that is usually 10%. And of course, there are also costs that are associated with it. You will recall, you mentioned earlier as well that you need to acquire the services of a solicitor or a lawyer, as how we call them back home. That is important, and those things come at a cost. And therefore, you want to find that you have a product that will help you along the way. And so much so, you have the Victoria Mutual iSave for Home. It allows you the flexibility to save in the main currencies that are transacted in Jamaica, of course, Jamaican dollars, US, Canadian, and GBP. I do know a lot of persons in the diaspora say, but hey, I am earning the currency where I live. But of course, when you send back home, that can be converted, and you can convert it into any one of the currencies there. And at the end of saving for a fixed term, then you can benefit from a special mortgage interest rate. Now, when it comes to property, the first thing is search. And of course, that's why Andrew James went first. You have to engage the services of a realtor, or if you have a family member or you're familiar, for those of us who travel to Jamaica often, we are familiar with properties that we have seen, but it's important that you do search. You have to search for the right property for you, not for your friend, not for someone who you know, but for you. And one of the things when it comes to searching is, of course, you have to appreciate that you don't necessarily need to purchase your perfect house now, but you need to look at the reason. Location, location, location. Do your research. A lot of us who have left the diaspora for quite some time, we have an idea of what our memory tells us, what it was like then. Things change. If you haven't been back to the island, ask. And that's why it's important for you to utilize the services of a realtor. Again, there's Victoria Mutual Property Services that can assist you with that. You need to have someone inspect the property. And you also need to consider whether truly not you can afford this property. Again, start small and build equity. Now, after that, it comes to securing the property. How do you secure it? It's by way of a mortgage. Now, many of us have purchased properties within the diaspora, and in purchasing properties within the diaspora, what you find is that the process is very different from what you will experience back home. So you find that you'd have a process known as pre-qualification, where we assess your income to see whether or not you truly can afford this property. It is just a preliminary stage, then it's followed up with the application process. You have adjudication, where it is that the risk is assessed to see whether or not you can afford it. You have acceptance. If you accept it, then of course comes the registration and disbursement of the loan proceeds. Now, what do lenders look for? Lenders look at two main things.
Leighton, just before you go to what lenders look for, you did ask to be able to share your screen. I'm not sure if you changed your mind, but we haven't been seeing the screen. And I've confirmed that you do have capability for screen sharing.
Oh, wow. Let me go back and see what's happening there. It started off as being shared.
You have completed 5 minutes, by the way, so you have another
Sure.
5.
Okay, let me go again.
Yes, please. There you go. There you go. There you go.
My apologies for that.
Please continue.
Okay, my sincere apologies for that. Okay, so let me just recap quickly as to where it is important. Key steps, you need to look at your reasons for purchasing. So you need to consider whether or not this property is really for me. Can I afford it? Again, as we said, inspecting the property is critical. When it comes to securing the property, the mortgage process, as mentioned earlier, it's a little bit different for you in the diaspora if you have had that experience of purchasing property before versus if it is that you have are purchasing in Jamaica. So you have the pre-qualification stage where it is that we do an assessment. For example, here in the UK, they call it an agreement in principle, where it is that we look at what it is that you're going to do or whether or not you can afford this property. You have the application, you have adjudication where we assess the risk. You also have the acceptance where you accept the offer. Registering the mortgage, it's important so that your name is registered on the title. And of course, then there's disbursement. Where we stopped off a little bit was when it comes to what do lenders look for. two things. We look at your ability to repay the debt, where we look at your income versus your expenses, and your attitude towards debt, and that is reflected in your credit score. How have you treated credit in the past? How you've treated credit in the past would be an indication of how you'd likely treat it in the future. So of course, you need to ensure that you maintain a good credit score or a good credit report. What do we look for on the ability to repay? Proof of income. So we're going to look at the pay slips, the job letter, the bank statements, your tax returns, and then we complete an assessment. If you're self-employed, we ask for a little bit more. You know, the financial statements for the last 2 years, any existing loans that you may have, how you have been treating those. So we'd want a status on those. Now, when it comes to attitude towards debt, this is required for every single borrower. It is just a numerical snapshot of the information in your credit history, and it's used to assess your credit worthiness. What we'd love to see, our lenders, they like to see high scores. Anything above the fair category, it is really good. If it is that your credit score is not good, then now is the time to sit and talk to us. Again, remember, we spoke about financial wellness. So there are ways in which you can improve your credit score. By improving your payment habits. If your account has been given to a debt collection agency, then you need to make an arrangement to ensure that you're doing that. Reduce overall debt, and some of us know there are things that are deemed to be good debts versus bad debts. So we need to do that general assessment for ourselves to ensure that what we are doing is beneficial again for us. Come prepared for the costs. There are some one-off costs that you're going to have to pay. That is your deposit. Usually 10%, but again, it's the vendor. The vendor can determine how much it is that they want. We have seen it go up to 25%. There's a credit report fee, there's processing fees, there are professional fees for reports, valuations, stamp duty, registration costs, the legal fees again, need to be mindful of those, so be prepared. One of the things, as we said before, is that when you're purchasing a property, you need savings, and you need to budget for at least 10 to 25%. Why? Because there are costs that you need to pay. Mortgages, why come to us? We're going to tell you. We offer, competitive interest rates, so 4.25 or 5% on a foreign currency rate. Again, the main currencies we will lend in, GBP, US, Canadian, and on the Jamaican side, we can offer 6.95%. And then what we have done is that we have afforded you the opportunity to benefit from discounts from the group as well. When we also think of, we do joint financing with NHC, as was asked earlier. You can combine with your mortgage with NHC, of course, for it to be completely processed by VMBS under the joint mortgage financing program. Now, something that is important that I want to highlight before we wrap up is what is pre-qualification. Pre-qualification is simply a basic review of your income and your credit worthiness. It is not a commitment. Sometimes persons deem pre-qualification to be a pre-approval. It is totally different. Pre-approval, we do a greater risk analysis and a greater assessment of your finances. And therefore, when you get a pre-approval, that in itself is guaranteed. Pre-qualification is when you're just basically doing an initial assessment, and of course, you're assessed to see whether or not you can truly afford this property. So what are some key takeaways? It's important, ladies and gentlemen, identify the property that is right for you. Be sure to inspect it. Be sure of your finances. Make sure the mortgage product you select is also right for you, not for anyone else. You need to have a clear understanding of the lending process so that you're aware of timelines. So you have to take the time to go through your legal documents. I see Tameka here as well, very good at what she does. So again, you need to bear that in mind. Something else we'd like to remind persons in the diaspora, the importance of acting and acting quickly. One of the things that happen is that holidays in the diaspora are very different from the holidays in Jamaica. And therefore, the buying and selling process, what we will find is that it can be impacted by time. And therefore, you need to act. If you get a document, sit and say, oh, it can wait until next week. Time is money. And if you look in your sale agreement, you'll realize that. And one of the things we have to appreciate, as we said before, when you learn the process, you realize that there are no shortcuts, there are no quick fix, there's no man who can do a thing. We have to stick to the process. And if we stick to the process, then certainly we'll be benefiting. So These are where our offices are located in the United Kingdom and the United States. And also we have afforded you some information as to how to contact us. Thank you so much for the presentation. I hope I stuck within the 10 minutes, and I apologize we didn't see the first few slides.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much, Leighton Smith. Time for questions now. We did make provisions for the little delayed start and the bit in the mix there. So you kept within your time. Thank you very much. So let's get the questions now for Leighton Smith of VMBS. He is the Chief Representative Officer, VMBS Overseas UK Limited. And we should also say to those of you who are on that if you have not already done so, register with your relevant mission, wherever in the world you are, wherever the Jamaican mission is, register with that mission so that you can, among other things, receive information on important developments, events, activities, which could be of interest or relevance to you. Feel free to post that in the chat as well. Right, so here we go now, Leighton Smith, for you. How do we access? This is, oops, where did that one go so quickly? All right, Del Maria says, can the joint mortgage application through VM and NHT be done remotely?
Yes, it can. It can be done through any of your local representative offices. What happens is that the individual can complete an application form for the NHT to access their benefit. They will then send that form to the individual for them to send to the lending institutions. That can be done. The previous question of how do you access your credit score, I can still see that one. You go to your local credit rating agency in the country that you live. Because one of the things that is important is that where you're living now in the diaspora, we need to see how you're treating credit there. Some persons may say, I would want to go and assess it in Jamaica, but then remember now that if you do that, you may not necessarily have any credit based on the credit rating agencies in Jamaica. There are some that are universal in terms of like Experian, that we do know that operates in quite a few of the diaspora markets, or Equifax, again too, they are universal. So they're good and they're accepted by us as lending agents.
Right, next one here. What do your pre-payables expenses include?
Your prepayables are going to include your first month's interest, your registration costs, your legal expenses, some of which is estimated. And therefore, because it's estimated based on what you would likely pay to, for example, your attorney that you have contracted, as well as a valuation report, surveyor's ID report if you're purchasing off the open market. All of these deemed to be percentages of the selling price of the property. And therefore, when we provide you with a pre-qualification, we say that these are estimated costs, because again, based on your strong negotiation skills, you may get them lower or higher, but it's based on what we have seen in the market.
So as an American, do you use the FICO scores?
Yes, we do, because you're going to look at where the individual is located, and we're going to take that into consideration. If there is some concern, then we will, engage with the individual, speak to them some more as to how it is that we can actually assist them in terms of improving those scores if they are not so good. But yes, we do.
All right. And let's see, can one start an iSave home account remotely?
Yes, they can. For any financial institution, once it is that you get the form appropriately notarized by a notary public, you can actually send them in to any institution, and then the accounts can be opened. So they can liaise with any of our offices, or they can call our member engagement number as 1-877-967-8627.
For us in Australia, do we have to travel to the offices in the UK and US?
No, they don't. What we'd have to do is that they can simply contact us at manager@myvmgroup.com. And if they contact us at manager@myvmgroup.com, we'll send them the documents. And again, if those documents are notarized, then they can be mailed into us or scanned into us just now. The world has changed as we have known it.
Go ahead.
No, I said the world has changed as we have known it, and therefore we will accept some things electronically until the originals can be sent in or mailed in by post.
Right. Next one here, DTI. Is this a factor? What is
Could they
that?
clarify DTI for me? DTI means to me deposit taking institution. That's what it means to me, but I don't know what it means there.
All right, so that person can clarify. Next one, what if your credit
Oh, debt
scores...
to income. Oh, good debt versus bad debt, DTI. Yes, you have a debt to income. So when we're doing the assessment, we look at your debt service ratio. How much of your income is actually servicing debt? And therefore, what we tend to use is that when we're doing the debt service ratio assessment, we'll have to take into consideration how much of your current income is servicing debt, as well as how much or how much the adding of this mortgage will increase that debt. One of the things as lenders were important, and I see my colleague Petal saying yes, we want to ensure you're able to live, right? Petal, we want to make sure you can eat and you can survive. And therefore, one of the things is that some persons will say, yeah, man, I can make sacrifices, but true, we know you can make the sacrifices, but at the end of the day, we're in the business of helping persons to get home. And therefore, we're not going to give someone a loan where the debt service ratio is too high, where we know that they're going to struggle. It's just not good lending, right?
Right. All right, I think we're almost out of time in terms of questions and answers. One here, what if your credit scores are in different countries elsewhere other than where you live, based on your spending and financial engagements? For example, you mainly do important transactions in Western countries, even though you live in the East.
Okay, well, what we do is that we'll take that on advisory so they can give us the credit report. If they give us the credit report, then we'll make the assessment. And then what we'll do is that based on our adjudication team, we'll submit that this credit report be accepted. So that's fine as well. As long, of course, you know, when it comes to our operations, we're always governed by compliance. So if it's a country that we are allowed in terms of doing business with based on compliance and regulations, then that's fine.
Great, thank you, Leighton. Somebody's asking if you can share or email your presentation and also needing your contact information. So you can do that and continue to respond to questions in the chat.
Sure. So one of the things I completely forgot to mention is my gratitude and thanks to Nordia, Teape, and the entire association and leaders of IDS. So you could get the slides from IDS. They will have them and they will then be able to advise persons. Okay?
Great. Thank you very much, Leighton. Well done. All the best.
Thank you. All the best.
Good. And we're moving right along. We're about one segment or so behind, but we'll catch up because right now, we are going to the Chief of Branches for JN Bank, Ms. Petal James. Welcome, your time.
Thank you, Dervan. Good morning, everyone. Are you hearing me clearly?
Oh, yes, we are.
Wonderful. I believe, Nordia, yes, I have share screen options. Are you seeing my screen clearly?
Well, we saw your beautiful face and we're now awaiting the screen. There's the screen.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. COVID-19 has pulled us together in different time zones, and we're grateful. Senator Leslie Campbell, State Minister for Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade with responsibility for the diaspora. Her Excellency, Ambassador Shorna-Kay Richards, Ambassador of Jamaica to Japan. His Excellency, Mr. Antonio Hugh, Ambassador of Jamaica to China, His Excellency Mr. Jason Hall, High Commissioner of Jamaica to India, Mrs. Melissa Price, Minister, Counselor, and Deputy Head of Missions to China, Dr. Nicoleen Johnson, Asia and Pacific Representative, Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, Dr. Kevin Brown, Representative, Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, Ms. Nordia Teape. Thanks for the invitation, Nordia, Chief Executive Officer and Co-Founder, Integrated Diaspora Services Limited, Mr. Dervan Malcom, our very own bilingual or facilitator, fellow presenters, Leighton, Dwayne, my very good friend, friend here, Leighton, our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good evening, good night to our viewers in the diaspora, and good evening to our Jamaican family across the diaspora. Commendations to the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, the Asia Pacific region, and Integrated Diaspora Services for partnering to host this very timely and useful webinar. There is no doubt that real estate in Jamaica remains among the biggest success stories of the COVID-19 pandemic. I believe it's one of the strongest markets since COVID-19 emanated, and it still remains very strong despite the negative impact that the pandemic has had on many industries. The construction and real estate sectors remain robust and strong, apart from the fact that interest rates on mortgages remain the lowest they have been in decades. Property values continue to appreciate and demand remains stable. In fact, demand has kept pace with COVID-19 levels. Experts inform that this demand is strongest for properties in the mid to lower income price range, which are those selling for between 20 and 50 million. Yes, 20 and 50 million. If you buy a property today for 20 million, I can guarantee you by next year, it will be at about perhaps 22, 23 million. So you can't lose on this kind of investment, the real estate market. With these factors in mind, it is safe to say that it is still a good time to invest in real estate in Jamaica. The reality, ladies and gentlemen, is that people need somewhere to live all the time. Many persons are also now working from home, and they are seeking properties that can accommodate their new way of living and working. You in the diaspora, when you come to Jamaica, you want somewhere to stay, you know, for your own convenience. And so investing back here in Jamaica is always a good opportunity and option. Additionally, persons seeking investment opportunities, you can buy a property here in Jamaica and also now do rental income, you know, from where you are in the diaspora. So it's always a good investment to for owner occupied or for investment properties. Real estate in Jamaica, therefore, continues to be a profitable and wise investment, and Jamaica National is ready and equipped to assist in providing financing for either the acquisition of a residential property or in the construction of housing developments. Sorry. Now, why JN? We offer a wide variety of options for you to choose from. We have been in the business for over 147 years. Through JN Bank, we provide mortgages so that investors and prospective homeowners can take advantage of opportunities in the real estate sector. We continue to be the largest private mortgage lender in Jamaica. Over the years, we have been innovative in our efforts to meet your specific needs and to make the mortgage acquisition process easier and more seamless. And so I'm just going to run through quickly what some of our options are, right? Currently, the government of Jamaica is looking or has looked at increasing deposit rates, and invariably when deposit rates increase, it is likely that lending rates will increase. And so I'm going to invite you to take advantage of one of our fixed rate option. That fixed rate option, it fixes your interest rate for a period of maximum 5 years. And so if interest rate move in the market, then it doesn't affect you. And that's the fixed rate option. The extended payment option, we do know that persons are living longer. You have some persons who are attorneys, they're doctors, they're living beyond age 70, and so we have opened the doors for you. We lend you up to age 75. Once your income, we do know that pensionable income is very, very safe, is sure, and so some of the incomes that are out there, we can use and factor that into our assessment. So that's the extended payment option. We have the balloon payment option. That payment option means that perhaps you are flipping a property. You might be selling a property, but you want to buy one now. And so we can give you the loan, but on the sale of the other property, you can take it and do a lump sum or dump on the property that you want to acquire now. So that's a balloon payment option. The adjustable rate option, one of what we call the vanilla option, is that you come in, you can get as low as up to 6.5%. Currently, that's what JN Bank is offering. And so that's a very good offer as well. You have quite a number. You have 6 options to choose between in the adjustable rate option. The variable rate option, these are for the persons who are interest rate savvy. This is tied to the 30-day treasury bill rate of the government of Jamaica. I believe currently, when I checked on Friday, for October, the T-bill rate is 2.17. And so JN adds a 4.5 premium to that. And so your interest rate would be at 6.67. However, you pay your mortgage every quarter because it's a 90-day treasury bill. So what it does, it allows you to manage your cash flow upfront every 90 days. So it's a very good option, right? And so you have the payment holiday. You take out a loan today, you want to delay your payments, and so we give you a holiday pay, right? So those are some of our options that we have. I invite you afterwards to speak to me if you need to. And I did say earlier, as low as 6.5%, we lend you up to 40 years to repay. 40 years to repay. We are also a part of the joint financing program with the NHT. And so, yes, you can come to JN Bank and we can apply for your NHT benefits through JN one-stop shop. You don't have to go through NHT first, then come to JN. That's why it's called a joint financing program. So you come to JN and so once you're qualified, and I won't steal Dwayne's thunder, but once you are qualified for your NHT, which is 52 weeks compliant with your NHT contributions, then of course you can acquire up to 6.5% with the interest rate that they would apply, pre-approve you for. Sorry. We also offer life insurance under one umbrella and home insurance through JNGI and JN Life. We also have a no or low processing fee option now, and so you can take obtain a mortgage. You pay no application costs, and so the government fees are applicable, but no application costs. Or other options are very low processing fees. Now, you in the diaspora may want to invest some more in Jamaica, and so you want to, build residential properties through construction, and Andrew spoke about as a developer how you can acquire that. So JN do offer financing for developers up to 80% financing, and we don't simply finance, we will support you along the way and will even assist you with marketing and development. We market these properties in Jamaica and in the diaspora. JN has the largest diaspora customer base with members in the UK, USA, Canada, and the Cayman Islands. All right, the first steps, I know Leighton went through earlier, but the first steps we encourage home buyers to take, whether they're living at home or abroad, the first thing that we want to encourage you to do is save. Save, way ahead of the time when you want to purchase. It's also important for you to plan. You have to plan ahead if you want to purchase, a property. And so save for your deposit and other related expenses, including closing and escalated costs. Check your credit history. It's very important here at JN. We do ask you for your overseas or where you reside, those credit bureaus there. If you're in Japan, if you're in India or China, once there are credit bureaus there for your credit score, we ask for those. If you're in the US, Canada, we also ask you for your TransUnion, your Experian, and your Equifax tri-merge credit reports. Yeah. So we check your credit report. We also check your credit reports here in Jamaica. So some of you might have left long ago. And so our two credit bureaus, Credit Info and CRIFNM, the institutions exchange information. And so you do want to ensure that if you had any bad debts before, you want to clean those up, and ensure that your credit is good. If you don't have any credit, no problem, right? So here in Jamaica, we do also factor if you have credit here in Jamaica in our assessment. We want to also encourage you to reduce your debt. Reducing your debt is very important. You don't want to be taking on a new mortgage and you have, a lot of debts carrying. It eats out your eligibility acumen, right? And so you want to consolidate your debts way ahead of time if you want. You want to pay off or pay down some debts, especially the high interest rates debts, your credit cards. Some of those come with high interest rates. Very important for you to do that. Find ways to increase your income, pay your bills in full, avoid taking more debt, pay off high interest debts, as I said to you before. Importantly, wrapping up, get pre-approved. It's very important to get pre-approved. You want to know how much you're pre-approved for before you start searching, because you don't want to be searching and you don't know what you're searching for. And so the realtor, Andrew, he's a realtor, he's not going to be looking at you unless you have a pre-approval letter in your hand. So it's best you come in, get yourself pre-approved, and then you know what you can search for. Yeah. We also offer home equity loans. Say you have a property here in Jamaica, you want to start a business back home, you can take a home equity loan up to 15 years, affordable interest rates as low as 6.5%. Yeah, we also offer checking accounts. You can stay where you are, operate, open a savings or checking account with no penalties, right? We also have our JN vacation account, open with as little as 50 Canadian, US or pound. We have our BY savings account. Start this savings plan with a minimum of 10,000 Canadian, US or pound sterling. Thank you very much. I know time was going, Dervan.
Yes, indeed.
But I just want to thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, indeed. Thank you very much, Petal James. Now, 5 minutes of questions and answers. Let's go right away. I don't know if this is silly question,
right?
But does pre-approval have an expiration date? Phoenix is asking.
Yes, your pre-approval has an expiration date. It lasts for 3 months. 3 months. And so we would expect you to at least find a property within a 3-month period. It is free of cost. Let me say it's free of cost. But after the 3 months, you can come back and to be reassessed for another 3 months. Yeah, but it is expired for 3 months. Things can change within 3 months. You know, your income can go up, your debts can be reduced. You know, we want to also know if you acquired new debts so that we ensure that you're always on track with affordability. Lady spoke about that. We want to ensure that when you take on this mortgage, you're able to pay. Even though I know some person will suck salt through wooden spoon, yeah, to pay the mortgage, but we also want to make sure that you are able to pay your mortgage and live comfortably and pay your other and carry your other debts if you have one.
Question from Akelia. What about an investment account? Can that be done from another country?
Yes. Yes, JN Bank is in the diaspora. We have 3 rep offices. Two of our rep offices we have digitized, and so that was done to spread our wings across even the Asian community. So yes, you can stay where you are through our remote CSR model, open an account digitally, and you can open your investment account as well through our sister company, JN Fund Managers, and through JN Bank through our fixed deposits. Yes.
Great, thank you very much. More questions rolling in. Let's see, this one says, thanks, Petal. We submitted all details to JN UK. This was sent to JN Jamaica, who wanted it all again, but authorized by a notary. The process is not as simple as you say.
Not true, not sure. When did you send us through? You could private message me right now. Let me get your information and we can take it from there.
Okay, great, thank you. And some more here. Somebody says, that sounds good, Petal. Not sure with some person agreeing with something you said.
Delmaria from high school. I know Delmaria Richards from high school. Thanks, Delmaria.
Okay, and let's see, it's what about, I'm just trying to go through because we're seeing all the kinds of messages. Can one get a loan from JN without having an account there?
Yes, you don't have to be a member first to acquire a mortgage. However, during the process of acquiring that mortgage, you will become a member, and so you will become an account holder eventually. But you don't have to have an account to approach us. No. You can walk in off the road or overseas, and you don't have to be in Jamaica also to do business. We do business with persons in Dubai, China, Japan, India. We do daily.
All right, great. Thank you. And let's see, we in Ireland have a lot of issues with JN. I guess a direct message would get that conversation.
I'd really love to speak to you about that privately, if we can. I'm off air. Thanks.
Right. This one, I'm still trying to update my US account at JN from last year, and not happy with the time it's taking here. This is
so we can direct message. Dervan, one of the things that we want to advise our diaspora cohort here is that you must have a TRN number to do business in Jamaica or to buy property. The first thing that you must acquire is a tax registration number. It's easy. You can go online to the tax administration Jamaica department online, and you can also apply there. So you must have a TRN number to acquire property here in Jamaica.
And that's one of the services that Integrated Diaspora Services offers.
Yes.
Even in the whole process of getting purchasing property in Jamaica, from the standpoint of doing some of the legwork while you're elsewhere in the world, right here in Jamaica, the team from Integrated Diaspora Services can do the legwork for you. So that's another option. And this one, oops, I think we're out of time now though. It's 18 minutes past the hour. Is it possible, or how feasible is it for a single person to purchase property in Jamaica, meaning the person does not have a partner or relative to join with? I think this might be an NHT question. Yes, let's leave that for the NHT. But Petal, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you, Dervan. Thank you, everyone.
Great. Thank you very much, Petal. James of JN Bank. And we're going to keep it flowing. It's a wealth of information, we know. Just relax and take it all in as the information is being dispensed. Dwayne Berbick is up next. He manages corporate and public affairs at the National Housing Trust, NHT. And it's time now for his presentation. Dwayne Berbick, great to see you. Great to talk with you again. How are you?
I am well, Dervan. Pleasant morning to you. Good morning, afternoon, evening, good night to all the other persons who have joined us for this very, very important and very timely webinar. It's quite a pleasure to be here sharing with you all. A pleasant morning as well to, I must acknowledge rather, Minister Campbell, acknowledge as well the other members of the diplomatic corps on the webinar, and also my fellow panelists. Always great to share the stage with Andrew, Petal, and Leighton, which makes my job very much easier, because you would have heard many of these tips, these things to consider already as we pursue this journey of home ownership together. So I think I'm really here on the fourth leg of this relay, carrying it home. At least for the financiers and government standpoint, as a reinforcer of some of the messages and the knowledge that could have been shared already since morning. So Jamaica is Jamaica land we love. For the rest of the world, Jamaica is sun, Jamaica is sea, Jamaica is sand. But for us, wherever we go in the world, Jamaica is always home. And there is always that piece of you that always wants to come back home, whether it's for vacation, whether it's for retirement. There is always that affinity to Jamaica. And we want to ensure that you keep that with you. And we at the NHT will always try as best as possible to facilitate you realizing those home ownership goals when you do in fact are ready to achieve them. Petal did a great job of setting, the tone as to what's happening in the climate right now. That Jamaica is indeed positioned for growth. Jamaica is ripe for investment, and there are opportunities that exist for investment, not just for businesses, but for individuals, especially in housing. You would hear some of the mortgage rates already that they are at historical lows, which makes it very, 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 very opportune for you to jump into the market at this point. Also, where housing is concerned, a lot of developments have been popping up, not just in Kingston, St. Andrew, but right across Jamaica. And during this pandemic era, period that we're navigating, as Petal would have also indicated, construction is that industry that just keeps going. We haven't seen any kind of slowdown as a result of the pandemic, and is a big contributor to the GDP in Jamaica. So it's whether you're investing in it for personal reasons or as a business, construction is always a viable option. But why housing? Home ownership is really one of the biggest and best decisions an individual will ever make. It's good for investment. It's good for income, passive income. It's a legacy. You think, okay, I've gone through life. What am I leaving behind for the other generations to ensure that they're not starting from scratch again? Housing is that legacy that you can pass on. It's security. It's life, really. It is so much and everything, more than four walls and a roof, as I like to say. Housing is really that tool that brings everything together where life is concerned. And the NHT, we are indeed the key to your home. We've been around since 1976. Our vision is that we'll be ranked among the leading housing finance institutions in the world. And our mission is that we improve the quality of life of Jamaicans by facilitating home ownership and community development. And we have a particular emphasis amongst our low income earners. What that means in real terms is that the NHT provide loans to build, buy, or to improve homes and increase and enhance the stock of available housing in Jamaica. And we do that through NHT scheme developments. We also do that through developments with private and also public sector developers to ensure that we have as many housing solutions as possible for Jamaicans. And we also generate funding for the housing construction sector, and we promote improved building systems and greater efficiency. So the NHT offers direct open market purchases, which means you see something being sold by a private developer and you're interested in it. Once you're a contributor to the NHT and you're qualified, the NHT will assist you in making that purchase. We allow individuals who already have land to build on that land. And it's one of the easiest and fastest paths that would want us into home ownership. A lot of times people shy away from it because it's a more involved process. But when you have land already, it means then that shape and that look and feel of home for you is personally driven, and you can go at your own pace, you can go at your own time, and we're there and we're hold your hands. We'll have a project officer we assign to you who will guide you along that journey. If you do not yet have land and you want to buy land and build, there is always that option as well. Or if you just want to assist family members with purchasing real estate back in Jamaica, the NHT also facilitates that. And we also allow persons who are already homeowners to improve on that property they already own. Whether it's a family-owned property or whether it's yours and you want to put on another bedroom, put on another bathroom, we have the facilities in place and we provide the loan financing to achieve that as well. Or whether you are a group of friends, a group of co-workers who want to go the route of home ownership together, the NHT has a unique program or cluster housing program which allows you to build on a minimum of 3 lots, maximum of 9. The NHT assists in terms of buying the land, having the land subdivided, and you can pool that NHT benefit along with any funds you will get from Leighton or Petal as well, and you can build out your own little cluster, minimum of 3 lots, maximum of 9. The NHT, as I mentioned as well, we are in the business of housing, and one of our key goals over the last 4 years is to create 23,000 housing starts by 2021, and we are happy to say that as I speak to you now in October, that's something we would have achieved, starting construction on 23,000 housing starts is significant over any 4-year period. So we're adding to that stock of housing in Jamaica and creating the opportunities for individuals both at home and overseas to be able to recognize and realize their home ownership goals. We've also made improvements to our service delivery to ensure that we're able to do business with persons in the diaspora pretty easily. So you can really do business with us from anywhere in the world in the comfort of your home, or while you're on the go. We have our NHT mobile app, and you can download that from the Google Play Store or the App Store. It's NHT Online. We also facilitate online registration for individuals who are not yet contributors to NHT, and in a little bit I will tell you about how you can do that. And where you are already a contributor or a mortgager, we facilitate online payments as well. And whether you're applying for an NHT scheme or partnering with someone back home in Jamaica who's applying for an NHT scheme, the NHT also does online applications for our NHT schemes. And as I speak to you, we are currently working on moving some of the other services that we offer, our general mortgage services. We're looking at moving those online as well. So very soon, you will be able to access a full suite of NHT services from anywhere in the world. For ease of registration, we classify our persons living overseas as our voluntary contributors, and these are the Jamaicans who are either permanent residents or citizens. If you're just working overseas for a 6-month or 1-year period, you would be considered as self-employed, and yes, you can also register. But as a voluntary contributor, these are the Jamaicans who are either permanent residents or citizens. And we've simplified that process into one form, one page that you need to submit just one time to us. And you can access that on our website, mhd.gov.jm/overseas contribution. And our website is in maintenance mode now, but in a couple of days, it should be up and running again. But we've developed a page there that speaks to this whole home ownership and contributing and accessing NHD services from overseas, a specific corner of our website dedicated solely to our Jamaicans in the diaspora. So we want you to submit notarized copies of your proof of residence. That can be your passport or your permanent residency card, proof of age, birth certificate or your passport, again, valid form of identification, your tax registration number, Petal underscore that. It's a very important tool doing business in Jamaica. We also want here to see a copy of your NIS card, and we want all of these notarized, and you can send them to us. How much do you contribute on a monthly basis? You contribute 3% of your proposed income. And we say 3% of your proposed income as opposed to your total income, because we understand the realities are a little bit different overseas, where an individual may have multiple jobs. We're not saying you need to pay 3% on all the earnings that you have. You can find, okay, what is that proposed amount that I'm using based off perhaps one job, and you declare 3% of that, and you pay that on a monthly basis, and that would be your NHD contribution. To qualify for an NHD loan, pretty simple. Between the ages of 18 and 70, you would have contributed for 2 years, 104 weeks, 52 weeks or 1 year if you contributed before leaving Jamaica. So once we are able to identify in our system 1 year or 52 weeks of contributions prior for you, then you would only need to contribute for an additional 52 weeks. And of course, you must be earning at least minimum wage to be able to qualify for a loan. Our key value propositions that we have the lowest interest rates you find on the market, lowest interest rates ranging from as low as 0% to a high of 4%. And I must say we are in that very good interest rate climate where I must congratulate Leighton at VM and Petal at JN for the improvements and reductions and the offerings and the deals and the packages that they also have available as it relates to attractive interest rates and fees. 100% financing for NHD solutions up to a maximum of $15 million. NHD or general loans are for $6.5 million, $13 million if you co-apply with someone. $2.5 million is available for home improvement. You get 40 years to repay, a very good long repayment cycle, or up until age 70. We have the contribution refund towards deposit facility. So your NHD contributions that are not yet due, they are not yet due for refund. They actually can be used to assist with offsetting some of the costs relating to the purchase of your home, paying for that, paying down on that deposit, paying for that valuation report, that survey as ID, and of course assisting with your legal fees as well. If you're a parent and you want to assist a child with home ownership, legally adopted or biological, we have programs that assist with that. And my favorite of all time is our joint finance mortgage facilities, where we work with VM, we work with JN, and we work with other mortgage institutions to allow you to pool your NHD benefit with funds that you can get from them. And as Petal clearly said, it's a one-stop shop. So we take the hassle out of the process for you. You don't have to come in and apply at NHD and go over to Leighton or Petal and then apply again for that portion. No, you just go into one of those offices, tell them you want to use the joint finance mortgage facility, you're accessing your NHD benefit, and we take care of all the hassle for you. And similarly, when it comes to repayment, one payment you make, and we work out on the back end who gets what. So that's always a great option you want to consider if you're pooling your NHD benefit with other financing options. Just finally, some things I want you to consider. You've heard some of them already. Location, location, location. Think about where you want to live. Think about where you can afford to live. And yeah, bear in mind that locations carry different prices. Housing in Kingston and St. Andrew is not going to be the same reality as housing over in cool Manchester, where I'm originally from. You know, so you want to look at your location and see what are the realities you're working with there. Petal said this as well. You want to save up to 20% of the value of the purchase price. That's to cover your deposit, your fees, your closing costs, and you want to do your research. Use a mortgage calculator on the NHT's website to see what exactly you qualify for and where you stand. And use a mortgage calculator on VM and JN's website as well. And you can get your pre-approval letter from us. You can always write into us at vcare@nht.gov.jm, and we will guide you to getting that pre-approval letter that you can bring over to your realtor when you're doing your shopping around, and you need that realtor to assist you, because there can be some, it's a simple process, but if you don't have the right guidance, you can end up in some pitfalls. So you want to ensure that you have real help guiding you. So we want to encourage you to work with a real estate agent to help you with the search to ensure you're getting value for money. Again, our joint finance mortgage option is always there. And just engage professionals generally. Start with a great attorney who will look out for your interest. And I know sometimes people try to cut the costs by saying, you know, NHT has an attorney, JN has an attorney, VM has an attorney, you can use them. No, NHT's attorney looks out for NHT's interest. VM and JN's attorney look out for their interest, and your attorney will look out for your interest. So ensure you have a competent one who's going to guide you along the process. And that's how you can reach us. Our numbers 929-650-009, our website nht.gov.jm. Then always email us wehere@nht.gov.jm. And of course, we're on all socials. You can always reach us there as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dwayne Berbick. Already multiple questions for you. Let's go very quickly. The housing solution specification needs updating. They are too small, says who is this? Des B.
The reality is we're contending with higher construction costs. We're looking at, you know, trying to as well reduce the cost of housing to individuals. And I know that's one of the market developments that has happened, which is seemingly to cut back on size and in terms of the size of the unit, but to give persons more land space so they can make the improvements and build what they want at the end of the day. So it's a cost containment measure, which is why you also shop around to ensure you find the right one for you.
Got you. Mr. Berbick, please send your contact info after the presentation or someone to speak to, perhaps an overseas rep. I find it difficult to communicate with the NHT office in St. Catherine. Tried the online system and can't get a response for many months now.
Sorry about that. I'll drop my information in the chat. No on overseas rep just yet, but I'll drop my information in the chat and you can reach out to me directly. I'll be happy to help.
Another one, NHT needs to speed up their loan process. It takes forever.
NHT has a same-day loan approval. The challenge sometimes is that it's a multiple agency process, especially when it comes to registration and having, you know, paying your stamp duty, that you have to go to the titles office. So NHT is the front person, yes, but there's a lot of work that happens on the background, which is why we say 90 to 120 days to manage those expectations, because it's a multiple agency effort, and sometimes we're not sure what we will encounter when the transaction leaves the NHT to go to these other institutions for processing as well.
And this person says he's even from Jamaica, it takes extremely long, and online makes it more difficult because all the paperwork has to be notarized. Even to get TRN can take 2 months. Well, for those services, for example, TRN, remember there's integrated diaspora services. That's one of the things that they do. They try to do the legwork because they're right here in Jamaica. They try to do the legwork for Jamaicans across the diaspora. So check integrated diaspora services. But again, you can always message, well, look out for Dwayne Berbick's details. We need a direct contact person from overseas. The online communication doesn't work, so that's related. For more information, okay. And Right. So the information for integrated diaspora services is also listed where you can get some help. Are there any upcoming NHT housing projects for St. Thomas? That question from Valerie Ferguson, Dwayne Berbick.
We're looking for land in St. Thomas. Quite a few developments, quite a few developers have approached us. I think St. Thomas is a new frontier for housing in Jamaica. Plans for the highway, and I think some persons who have housing plans over there are holding a little on those projects, waiting to see what is happening exactly in St. Thomas. So I know there are quite a few, I hate this term, there are quite a few in the pipeline, but we've had some discussions with developers and we're kind of just waiting on them to come in with these approved plans so we can confirm them and we can enter into a full partnership. So quite a few on the horizon, so keep watching St. Thomas. I know many projects will be coming out there soon.
Somebody's asking about benefits offered for new developers.
By that, I understand persons who are looking to partner with the NHT to go into construction. The NHT has a suite of programs there where we partner with developers, ranging from providing the financing for them to very low interest loans as low as 3% to undertake their developments, to joint venture partnerships where we can always sit at the table together and determine how this development will look, and we share resources, we share ideas. Again, you can always reach out to me and drop my email address in the chat directly for me to give you more guidance on how you can access some of those options and programs.
Del Maria is confirming that the payment process works, but she says engagement for answering questions, changing payments, etc. does not work. So you can add that to some of the concerns earlier on. Somebody agreeing there. We are an acoustic engineering and counseling company. We work worldwide. This is from Natty Delhom. We work worldwide with very special and strong links with Jamaica and the Caribbean. Our company is dealing with noise pollution and issues whichever and wherever they are with very, I think this is more like PR. All right, we'll read the details in the chat and check out your website because time is going. What are the plans for improving NHT communications besides the payments? Well, we add that to the previous issues. Yes, same payment issue there now. Are you saying that someone who contributed at least 1 year before leaving Jamaica and currently overseas and is not contributing can access a loan?
They would have to contribute for 1 additional year and then they will be able to access a loan.
Good. All right. And this one, I had reached out to a representative regarding wanting to pay NHT independently. And I was informed that I would be required to visit the tax office to make my payment, to pay NIS education tax in addition to NHT. Other taxes should be paid off from time of departure. Is that correct?
I would have to take that one under advisement to hear what exactly, depends. One of those multiple agency issues that I would have to look at a little bit more. Right. So you can always reach out to me directly.
Right. Is it possible to pay the NHT contributions for 1 year, one time instead of monthly?
Yes, you can, but the wait period would still have to be the 1 year because I think one of our speakers mentioned it earlier. We want to see a pattern of how you make those payments as an indicator as to how you would like to treat your mortgage. So yes, you can pay in full in one time, but we would still ask you to wait out that 1 year period.
Here's one from Tameka. If I have received NHT refunds over the years, would I still be qualified for an NHT loan?
Receiving your refunds does not preclude you from accessing an NHT loan. There are separate benefits. Your refunds are due to you and you can access them anytime whenever they are available. And you can apply for your mortgage anytime when you're ready as well, because that will always be available and one does not impact the other.
Okay, so after paying 2 years contribution at once, is it possible to get a loan even though it wasn't paid over a 2-year period?
I think I answered that one already. We still want to wait on, you still have to wait it out.
Regarding voluntary contributions, instead of using the credit card option on the website, is it possible to do an online transfer from another Jamaican account to the NHT?
You can set up a standing order with your Jamaican bank. I'm not sure of the online transfer, electronic transfer, but I know you can set up a standing order with your Jamaican bank and you can make the payments via that method.
Dwayne Berbick, you need your own program. Jeez. Having gone through all those questions, I'm still seeing 29 new messages, and I'm sure they're all for you. Could you please indulge us? Now it's gone to 30. Please indulge us by responding to those off air in the chat while we move to the next presenter in the interest of time.
Sure, I'll try my very best. And my email is always there. You can reach out to me directly.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. We must make special provisions for your segment the next time we have one of these webinars, because you're in demand. Lots of questions. Thanks a lot. All the best.
Thank you, Dervan, and all the best to you. And big up to you, Nordia. Thanks very much for the invite. I'll tell you a little secret, Dervan. Nordia was my head girl in high school.
So that's why you had to dutifully respond to her request. Well done. Take care. Let's keep it flowing. That was Dwayne Berbick, Manager Corporate and Public Affairs at the National Housing Trust. Please bear with us. Thank you for your patience. Those who have been waiting to make their presentations. It is time. I've seen a couple of calls or messages, I beg your pardon, with respect to legal representation. And that sounds like the perfect segue for our next guest, attorney at law, Tameka Jordan, principal and legal consultant of MJ Law Global. Hello, Tameka Jordan. Welcome. How are you?
Thank you, Dervan. Thank you very much, Mr. Malcolm. And I would just like to say, a special welcome to our persons who have logged on across the diaspora. I'd like to thank the Senator, the Honorable Leslie Campbell, and other members of the Diplomatic Corps for their presentation earlier. I'd like to thank Nordia for special invite, and I would just like to, at this moment, jump right into the presentation. I would just like to be, just 1 second. All right.
You've got it.
Great. So I'll be presenting on buying property in Jamaica. I would just like to emphasize what has been said by previous presenters, that buying property in Jamaica is a bit different than in other regions. We are specifically legal driven. You need an attorney for the process because of the type of land system that we have. Just by way of introduction, you will see on the screen, I'm Tameka Jordan. I've been an attorney for several years, well over a decade. I am partner in the firm at Jordan & Company, and we also have a diaspora firm here in the United States, MJ Law Global, where we service the Jamaican diaspora across Florida and other states in assisting you in your legal matters in Jamaica. Now, moving on, I would just like to indicate to you that there is a process when you are buying property in Jamaica. And this process can take you from what has been presented, the looking for the property in which you need a realtor, and it will take you to the next stage, which is having located your property. What is the next step? This is where the legal requirements of getting an attorney is most critical. Emphasize again that sale of properties in Jamaica is lawyer driven. It's not like in the States where you meet with your broker and it closes in 30 days and the broker does all the work. And the reason it is legal driven is because there are several things that most attorneys, our only attorneys, are qualified to do. So when we talk about the stages of procuring property in Jamaica, we have to first speak about what we commonly refer to in the legal fraternity of conveyancing, which is just simply moving the property from one owner to the other. And there are several stages. We have the pre-contract discussions and negotiations. And just to repeat, where you identify the property, you put an offer on it. Just to emphasize for persons who are joining us that when you make an offer on a property in Jamaica, it's not binding. It shows good faith, and the offer form is generally prepared by the realtor and it is submitted to the vendor, who will then accept it. It is at that stage then the offer letter is sent to the vendor's attorney, who will then draft the contract. And that will then take us to the second stage, which is when we exchange the contract. Once the contract has been finalized, it is then submitted to the purchaser along with other documents. And it's at that stage that the mortgage company comes into play, because these documents are required by the mortgage company so that they can process the sale, process the mortgage and issue certain things such as a letter of undertaking if you're taking a mortgage. And if you're not taking a mortgage, the purchaser's attorney will have to issue to the vendor's attorney what we call letters of undertaking. And why it is critical, because only attorneys and financial institutions can issue letters of undertaking. Again, so why it is critical that at each stage you need an attorney. Now, you don't pay for the property after the registration has been completed, because based on our land system, once a person's name is endorsed on the title, it is very expensive to take it off. So the letters of undertaking are critical. Now, you need an attorney to investigate the property. And why I say that is that we have different types of properties in Jamaica. We have properties that are registered with the National Land Agency, in which you get a specific title. And we have properties that are not registered, meaning we locally call them common law lands. The older the property, I've seen deeds. Most time there's no deed. We have receipts written up on a piece of paper or tax receipts, and those are what they gather to show that they own the property. Now, it's important that your attorney investigate this, because if you're taking a mortgage, for example, it is all I can guarantee you, haven't worked with JN and VN before, that they are not going to process a mortgage on an unregistered land. So these are things that you will need to investigate. The boundary, we know in Jamaica, we sometimes not built to code. The boundary is important, that you need to ensure that the boundary plans are correct. So you need a survey. A survey is critical. It is not an area that you save cost on. A survey identified if there's any boundary discrepancy, a survey identify the size of the land. You may think you're buying 1 acre, and when the survey going is half an acre, that's an issue. You will have to have the property appraised, especially if you're buying it by way of a mortgage, because the mortgage company is only going to lend you either 90 or 100% of the current market value. You have to confirm whether there are any liens affecting the property. Has anybody lodged a caveat? Is anybody claiming an interest in it? Is there a charging order over it, for example? These are things that you would require knowledge on so that your attorney can investigate you, because some liens can be lifted, some cannot, and it will affect your ability to acquire the property. Most importantly, you want to ensure that the person who's selling you the land actually owns it, as in they are the registered owner of the land. Oftentimes, we have persons who are selling you, they're so-called agents. Sometimes the persons who are registered the land have predeceased, and therefore we have to deal with estate and winding that up before the property can legally pass to the purchaser. We need to look also, which is most important, are there any restrictions on the title? Now, Airbnb is very popular nowadays, and not every title allows you to rent the property for short-term leases. So these are things that you will need an attorney to sit down and discuss. Why you buying the property? Is it for investment? Do you plan to do short-term rentals, or do you plan to live on it? Because depending on the restrictions that are endorsed on the title, you may or may not be able to do it. Are you buying land? Are you buying land to do development? Are you buying land to build your home? Because whether it is agricultural land versus residential land, you may or may not be able to do that development. And most importantly, taxes. We need to ensure that the taxes are paid, because there will be absolutely no transfer of ownership until all the outstanding property taxes are paid. So these are just some of the investigations that will be carried out by your attorney. Now, the most important document in a sale of property is the agreement for sale. And this is generally drafted by the vendor's attorney, and it is exchanged between the vendor and the purchaser's attorney. And there's generally a back and forth as to what terms are to be included in the agreement, because certain terms can be very draconian. So you want to ensure that the terms are fair to both the vendors and the purchasers. Now, things you need to look at. I think it was the presenter from NHT, Mr. Berbick, who spoke about the length of time. Their contracts will indicate how long this agreement shall last. And just to point out, because I've had many clients who start to count from when they identify the land as to, oh, it's taking so long, why the sales in Jamaica so long, just to point out that the time begins to run from when both parties have signed their agreement that is binding and the date is endorsed, not from when you identify the property. Now, if you're buying the property cash, as we say loosely, it can be closed in 45 days aggressively. If not, we are looking at about 120 days from start to finish when the agreement is dated. Why? As Mr. Berbick pointed out, we have different agencies involved. So just to briefly run through that, the agreement has to be sent to stamp office to be stamped. Once it's stamped, the taxes have to be paid. Then the transfer form has to be sent there also to be cross-stamped. Then it has to be sent to the National Land Agency. Then we have to do the checks at tax office to ensure that all the taxes are paid. And so that process can take some time, especially during the pandemic. I don't know if you guys have been following the media. There has been some backlog at the stamp office. So what would have taken 2 weeks for stamping is sometimes taking 2 months. We expect that with the ease and restriction and the numbers going down, this process should go back to normal. You want to make sure that the property details are accurate, the description, and as I mentioned before, this is where the survey is most important because you have to know exactly what you're buying. The price is correct. Again, the need for evaluation. The details of the buyers and the sellers should be correct because, as I indicated, whatever is on the sale agreement will be placed on the transfer form, and that is what is going to be endorsed on your title. So we want to ensure that your name is spelled correctly. You'd be so surprised how many cases I've done where the names are not spelled properly and there is no harmony in the spelling of the name. It's spelled one way on the TRN, one way on your passport, one way. So we want to ensure that the name that goes on the title is correct. Are you buying the property with any fixtures or fittings? Are you buying it with appliances? Are you buying it with a shed? Are you buying it with equipment? Those are things that we need to know because we'd have to do a schedule to the agreement. How much is the deposit amount? Some persons are requiring 10%. Some persons are requiring 20%. Again, this depends on whether the property you're buying it through an estate, you're buying it through a court order, you're buying it from an individual, depending on what deposit may be as low as 5% and can be as high as 20%. What provisions are there if one party cannot complete transaction? You enter the agreement, you can't complete. Are there forfeiture clauses? Would you lose your money if it is that you are not able to complete? So those are the important things that an attorney will guide you through in relation to the contract. So once the contract has been signed, now you're looking about having the taxes paid and going to the various government agency. And now we're at the National Land Agency where the actual transferring of ownership takes place. And usually agreement of sale will speak to the issuing of the letters of undertaking. I touched on that earlier. And this is why it is important that we know ahead whether or not you're buying it cash versus a mortgage, because the mortgage company now has a particular deadline in which they have to indicate to the vendor's attorney that, listen, we are going to pay the balance of the purchase price. These terms are to be met. There are legal consequences if they are not met. So you want to ensure that you have a good attorney who liaison with your mortgage company to say, listen, the LOU is due within 45 days, 60 days. be on them to ensure that the LOU is passed, because if it is that it's late, you may get an extension. If the vendor has difficulty, you may not get an extension, and there are penalties involved. If you're taking a mortgage, all the documents are generally sent to the mortgage company: the surveyor's report, the valuation report, the receipts, the payment of tax certificate. And it is the mortgage company who actually lodges the documents at the National Land Agency, because at the same time, they will also be endorsing on the title their mortgage. If it is not a mortgage, which is the process by which you're using to acquire the property, and it's a cash sale, it's a vendor's attorney who will do that transferring of the property on behalf of the purchaser. And generally, the attorney who represents the purchaser will either have to give a letter of undertaking to say, once you have endorsed my client's name on the title, I will pay the balance. Fees and costs, the most important thing, because that is where I think it is most clients are not really interested with the legal process. They just want to know how much it's going to cost and how am I going to be protected. So let's speak about the legal fees. As it is legally driven, you need to pay your attorney. There is no set fee. We charge generally percentage, which ranges between 2 to 5%. That is generally the market range. It's negotiable between the individuals and the attorneys, and it's also dependent on the value of the property. The agreement for sale is a separate cost, and this is paid to the vendor's attorney who prepares the agreement, and the cost is generally shared. Now, if you're buying into a new development and you have bylaws and all those things to attach, the agreement for sale cost is going to be higher. And if it is a normal land, the agreement for sale cost is generally lower. So we're looking at anywhere between 80,000 to 200,000 to prepare the agreement for cost, and this is shared equally between the parties. Stamp duty, thanking Minister Clark, Dr. Clark, who in 2019 reduced it. Stamp duty used to be 2%, it is now 5%, and the transfer cost has been significantly reduced from 5% to 2%, which of course equals to savings for the vendor and the purchaser. Under our system, the vendor pays wholly the transfer cost, as it is he who is making the lodgement at the National Land Agency, and the purchaser and the vendor generally share the cost for the stamping. There is also the registration fees. Many government agents involved, National Land Agency is now a statutory agent, so they are charged with raising funds, and so they charge a fee. The fee for registration, which is where they're actually printing your name on the title, is 0.5% of the value of the property, and so therefore each party pays. The vendor pays 0.25%, the purchaser pays 0.25%. Again, it underscores the importance of valuing your property, because everything that costs in this process is pegged to the value of the property. I already discussed with you the transfer cost. Transfer tax is 2% of the property, and this is paid solely by the vendor. Your surveyors and valuation fees cost, this is paid by the purchaser, and that is negotiable between the surveyor and the appraiser. It's also pegged at a percentage. I wouldn't want to speak on the percentage, but the market rate can be as low as 1% and as seen it as high as 3%. Realtor's fee. If you're going to engage a realtor in this process, there is a fee associated. And this, again, is a percentage of the purchase price. And generally, it is 5%. I've seen realtors go down lower than 5%. And this, unlike the States and other countries where it is sometimes shared between the purchaser and the vendor, in Jamaica, it is traditionally paid by the vendor. And that is a term that is normally included in the agreement for sale. So you'd have to, if you're representing the vendor, you'd have to know beforehand what is the agreement between yourself and the realtor in terms of fees. And so I would just like to, at this time, take any questions that you have. I hope I'm on time, Mr. Malcom.
Yes, you did well. You did well. Thank you very much. Thank you. Questions. Let's have the questions now. All right, let's see. And thank you very much, Council. Thank you very much for your presentation, Tameka. Jordan. Again, the firm is MJ Law Global.
That's a subsidiary firm in Florida. We have our flagship firm in Jamaica, and that's McDonald Jordan and Company.
All right, take time with me, as we say in Jamaican parlance. Thank you very much for the additional information. So this firm is large, a yard and abroad. So no two ways about it. Right, so now let's go with our first question. Looks like Tameka. Tameka. Oh, let's go up a bit here. What if not a private individual or the cost? Yeah, what if the vendor is NHT or a real estate agency and not a private individual? Are the costs you mentioned still shared?
Yes, the cost is still shared. Parties can negotiate otherwise in terms of, and I've seen that done, but traditionally the cost is, as I have presented, the vendor still shares the lion's share of the cost in terms of the taxes, and the purchaser a little bit less. But you can negotiate. I've seen instances, and there have been instances where we negotiate who pays the taxes. And for example, if the property is assessed more than what it has been sold for, generally in the contract, we'll have a term that if this happens, both parties pay the cost.
Good, thank you. Next question, this one from Tameka Smith, your namesake. There's a slight difference in the spelling. If after doing a land survey of the property, we find that there are outstanding property taxes, bills, etc., in this case, who is liable for those outstanding amounts, or are those costs transferred to the new buyer of the land?
All right, so to answer the very last question, costs in relation to property taxes are not transferred to the buyer, to the new owner. These should have been settled. Your attorney should have ensured that these have been settled prior to the completion of the sale. What generally happens is when the agreement is being signed, we ask for these documents. So we'll ask for what we call a certificate of payment of tax, which is issued by the Tax Administration of Jamaica, which will certify that there are no outstanding taxes. And the tax situation has been severely tightened, because once upon a time we could lodge the documents for payment of taxes at stamp office without certification that the property taxes have been paid. Now, the Tax Administration of Jamaica have been very strict, so we can't even lodge the documents to be assessed for payment of stamp duty and transfer tax without the certificate of payment of property taxes. So I would not be concerned. Your attorney should be on the ball and ensure that these are paid and the requisite certificate as proof that they have been paid issued to you, and it's not transferable. However, once you become the owner of the property, moving forward, you are solely responsible for the payment of property taxes.
Got you. Here's a thing that came up in your presentation with respect to what they call it, lease short-term rental, more commonly called Airbnb, because that's the original brand in that space. Just yesterday, I had a conversation with the owner of an apartment within a strata, and I saw the tears welling up in his eyes, because he's saying he's having a problem with the shift change in the type of, well, all kinds of people, according to him, who from time to time would have rented that particular apartment, which is above him in the building. And he says he's a little nervous because he doesn't know who these people are, where they're from, what connections, what if this and what if that, etc. What can homeowners like this gentleman do? Is there any protection for him and his property?
Firstly, I'm assuming that he would have bought into a new development. First things that should have happened when he purchased that property is to check the bylaws, because the bylaws in a strata would stipulate how the property, individual units, owners can use the property. If there is no restriction as to short-term leases, then other owners are permitted to have short-term leases. If there are restrictions in the bylaws, he would then have to, at his strata meeting, annual general meeting, enforce it, put that on the agenda and have that issue be raised. If it is that it's an old apartment or townhouse complex, and those generally do not tend to have bylaws relating to short-term lease because they were built before Airbnb became a thing,
yes,
he may wish to at the next, with his strata, to see if the bylaws can be amended to restrict the use of Airbnb. But subject to there being any restriction in the bylaws, I'm afraid that he may have to suffer a little bit with it. What I would do is that perhaps invite him to speak to the owner to say in terms of if it is a security concern that he's having, that the owner vets the individuals who are renting the premises before.
Mind you, he says he has expressed his concerns over time with the owner, but
to no avail, because there's no restriction. There's no restriction on the bylaws. So the owner is entitled to use and exercise his property to his advantage, unfortunately.
Got you. Well, we see persons calling for your contact details. Going to ask you to do like the other presenters by sharing your contact details so that our audience, our global audience, can connect with you. But we want to thank you so much for enlightening our darkness with respect to legal matters and property procurement. Well done.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. That's Tameka Jordan, principal and legal consultant. It's MJ Law Global and established in Florida in the US, but essentially serving both Jamaica and the diaspora. So she's quite global, and her partners quite global in the work that they do. And so now our final presentation before we wind down this webinar on the first day in November. What a way to start November. The president of the Incorporated Master Builders Association of Jamaica, IMHA, is Lenworth Kelly, and he has more than a thing or two to share with us as we continue on the subject of property procurement. Remember, you can always get in touch with all the presenters who have been on. Their contact information has been shared, and some of them are they're committed. They're still online responding to questions from earlier on and even fresh questions coming up. So the chat is live. Let's go now to the president of the Incorporated Master Builders Association of Jamaica, IMHA, Mr. Lenworth Kelly.
Good morning, Dervan. Good morning, attendees. Thank you very much for having me. All protocols observed, and I will get right into it. I'll be focusing largely on construction and some aspects of land acquisition. Now, I will start off with Luke chapter 14, verse 28, which states, "For which of you intending to build a house does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it?" In counting that cost, there's a range of things you have to take into consideration, particularly for those who want to build and own land. Now, if you, in acquisition of the land, the realtor and the lawyer will assist you in that particular effort, but there are some other considerations. If you are purchasing a house I want to suggest that you, especially if it's an older property, that you get a structural report. You want to ensure that what you are purchasing has been built properly. You get a valuator's report that tell you what the value of the property is, the market value, and most of us are fine with that. But there's nothing to tell you that if that property will stand up in the event of a disaster, that it will preserve your life and the life of your loved ones. We see we call multifamily developments popping up in the denser areas, Kingston, largely Montego Bay, I understand some may be coming for Ocherius, and there are developments underway, certainly we know of in Mandeville. And so when you're running out of land, you build up, you increase the density. So if you grow up on a house in a yard that was a acre in the middle of the town, and that was just one family, what you may find now is that you may, on the same piece of land, 50 families, and there are other things that will attend to that. So now I want to give my attention largely to those who will build on own land, whether you're a developer or just building a house for yourself. Considerations before you purchase land. Your land selection is based on what you want, whether you want a view or you want to live in a a valley, it doesn't matter, but consider the terrain or the topo based on what you would want, the feel you want of wherever that land is. Please ensure you consider the terrain or the topography. That has so much to do with what the building will cost you. The steeper the slope, the more expensive will be your, what we call your substructure works, or your foundation. And you may find there are cases that we have witnessed. Persons have built 6 floors that they need not have built. They are not full floors, but they are still 6 floors, and they only occupy the 7th level. And it's because the land was so steep. So we want to give some consideration to the slope of the land, the terrain, the topo. Your physical location, the soil type, that's also an issue. The soil type is critical. If you are in an area where it's clay, then you need a particular type of foundation. If it's loose and stable slope, then you're asking for trouble. And your engineers will assist you there, or you have good contractors. Most of the registered contractors are required to have a professional engineer on staff. So you can check the government's website, the Public Procurement Commission, for those types. There are others who are not necessarily registered, but they do also have professional engineers that can guide you through this. We want to know the history of the land, during earthquakes, during hurricanes, what has taken place in those areas. There's also a hillside development manual issued by the Mines and Geology Division of the Ministry of Mining. And your engineer will assist you there. There are some slopes that are not recommended for any form of building. You can raise goat up there and whatever, but no building. They are totally against that. So it's not every piece of land you can build on. So I'm asking you to be very careful in your land selection process. You may need to engage an engineer to advise you along the way, or a reputable contractor who is also an engineer that can advise you on that. So we have a lot of unstable slopes. When you drive through some areas, you as soon as you get a fair bit of rain, you start having landslides. You see a lot of dirt coming down in the road. No, that's tricky. That's a red flag, and you want to be careful to avoid such areas. There are instances where you can put in retaining structures, retaining wall to hold you up, but you don't know what the person below you will do. So you want to ensure that you investigate properly. Rock is the best foundation to build on. The scriptures tell about the man who builds his house on the rock. But rock is expensive to excavate. So if you know you want to have your split level and thing like that, you have to consider the cost of removing rock to create the space that you need for your house or for your development. You want to also avoid areas that are floodplains, and normally you get it in the news. You want to check historical data, anecdotal stuff. The Met Office, what are they saying? Avoid areas that are close to gullies and drainage channels. And people, please do not go buy any land anywhere which is no riverbank, but the river used to run here. It don't matter. There's no river used to run. It is still a river channel. So a river channel is a river channel. Once there's enough water coming from upland, you will get that river, you will see the water running back in the river. So not because there's no water there mean you can just go on and inhabit it. So I don't warn about that. Churches and businesses have been built in river channels, and when the river has returned for its channel, then those things are washed away and people call that a disaster. I will argue otherwise it's not a disaster. I would argue that it was foolish to go there in the first place. So we want to avoid areas where the drainage comes through. Now, climate change has led to what we call increased intensity of rainfall. So we had a seismograph reading earlier this year, I believe, of 4 inches of rain in 10 minutes. Now, you just imagine you set your pan out there, in 10 minutes, 4 inches of rain. Now, remember, when you build your house there, the water not wasted on your house top. So whatever that 4 inches in that 10 minutes will run off in the yard. That is flood proportions we're talking about. So we need to be mindful that we're having climate change. And so that even magnifies the need for you to pay attention to where you're acquiring land. One flood event can wipe you out. You only need a river to run through your house for 5 minutes. And pretty much most of what you have inside there is gone, and it may very well do irreparable damage to your structure, which is even more disastrous. So pay attention to the land, where you're acquiring land. I don't understand. You will stay overseas, and yes, there's this land for sale. And you see some pictures and you like it, and the price fits your budget. And so you send by it, and then you come down now looking for this land. And when you go looking, the land is over some kind of slope, bleeding down into some gully that the only way you can get a house on it is if you build a house and hang it up. People, we need to get people to represent you on the ground here if you cannot go. Get registered your realtor, ensure that your realtor, whoever is posing as your realtor, as Mr. James has said, ensure that they are registered people that you are dealing with, right, who will give you factual information. All right. Now, let us look at your design and pre-construction activities. It is helpful if you have an idea of what you want to build. Then you go off, you get an architect to design the concept, the look, the feel. For smaller buildings, I believe below 3,000 square foot, I think the law has it that it can be designed by what we call a draftsman. So a lot of people going around with the name architect. Now, architects are registered under the law of the land. So not everyone is an architect, but you have people who are draftsmen, but people call everybody who draws architects. No. So I want to make that very, very, very clear. So you want to get an architect or a draftsman if you're going with a smaller structure to design the concept and the look, what you want the house to look like and feel like. And you can do all these fancy things for you now, give you a video. You walking through the house, you say all the sides, what it look like, and you can put the color on it, change the color. I think HGTV has spoiled some of us, if not misled some of us. You're not going to get any house in no 3D. Take that out of your mind. It's not going to happen. So when you get your architect, remember, you must have an idea what you want, or you might very well drive the architect crazy, because they're not going to be drawing different for you to keep rejecting it. So you certainly want to give some attention to what you would like. You would have seen ideas, and as I say, HGTV is giving us all kind of ideas. So when you have the look and the concept drawn, I say, yes, this is what I want. It's set on the land nice. I want these many bedrooms, etc. If you're doing your own development, if it's apartments or townhomes you're doing, then you would be satisfied that you're getting what you want within the regulations. Then you would need a structural engineer now to do the engineering design. And that is what makes your structure resilient in the face of weather elements and hurricanes and earthquakes and that kind of thing. You may, depending on the size of what you're building, you may require a soil or a geotechnical report. And that kind of helps to tell you if the soil, if the ground then can take the weight of what you're building there, because not all the land you buy can take the weight of what you want to build on it. You may need to do piling. There are other things you may need to include in order to be on that same land. All right, so these considerations are important. You come, you build a house, you want a house close to the coast, but you may have been on some kind of marshland. Somebody tell you to dump it up with marl and then put down your house, really. So when that starts moving, when you get things like liquefaction, which is an engineering term, when the ground starts feeling like jelly and your house start coming apart, you are going to jump up and blame the contractor, which the contractor has built what you have given him to build on the drawings, because that's what he's responsible for. So you want to make sure your background work is done. So engage the requisite professionals to help you along the way. For those who want to be just focused on development, doing like apartments and that kind of thing, whether it's high-rise, multifamily, residential, or it's commercial, you need additional professionals. You need mechanical and electrical engineers to deal with your venting, your air conditioning systems, your fire alarm, fire suppression systems, general electrical systems, the building management system, elevators, pressurized water supply. So these things you have to consider, you have to go wider. Water storage, guys. Electrical power. I suggest that you have to engage JPS from when you are doing the design. So you may have decided you want to go and buy 10 acres of land out in the wilderness somewhere. Don't think automatically JPS you just go to JPS, make an application, and the cost of taking it to you if you are far away, you will have to bear that cost. And so it's not just a simple connection. All right. The NWC, you want to engage them also from the concept phase. Don't assume water is available for the demand you will generate. The NWC does not create water. They only manage the resource. They tap, treat, and distribute. So it's incumbent on you to ensure you have proper storage and conservation systems and do your harvesting. Wastewater, if there's no municipal sewer there, your waste has to go somewhere in a flush toilet. If there's no municipal sewer, then you're going to have to do an on-site treatment system. That comes at a significant cost. And also those systems take up a fairly large area of your land. Once you have completed your drawings, you can allow the professional to submit them for you. If you are aware, you just send a letter instructing that done. They submit to the KCAC in the case of a development, not the KCAC, but your local planning authority. So if it's Kingston, is the KCAMC now. If it's whichever parish you are in, if it's Trelawny, is the Trelawny Municipal Corporation, and so on. We recommend that you have a quantity surveyor to prepare a construction budget for you and a bill of quantities. Don't believe that because you have $10 million put on, the $10 million is going to build a 10-bedroom house, because in your head, that is what you are going to spend. That's not how it works. The bill of quantities is a document of measurements and of all the work that's represented on the drawing. And please note that if it's not on the drawing, the cost may not be captured. So ensure that all that you want is on the drawing. You then go to your contractor selection. There are options. You can negotiate, you can do what you call open bid or closed bid. So you may get 3 guys who you get good references for, and you give them the bill of quantities and the drawings and ask them to bid on it for you. You can also do it, bill it yourself if you have the gumption for that. I want to make sure I make this point before I close. It is amazing the number of persons I find who engage contractors without a formal contract. Just some word amount and some numbers and a page. This is a recipe for disaster. Unless, of course, you have an infinite budget and value for money is not important. Your QS can advise you on the different the contract type mode suited to what you are doing, and you can add additional conditions to it. You then proceed to bill. You are away. Remember, you are away. Engage a professional here to act on your behalf. You can use your QS, architect or engineer once they are a registered professional. You can even use a lawyer to come there and look, get somebody who you trust to take pictures. Too many stories of people sending money, and when the house supposed to build and them come down, all them see is a barbed wire fence. Come on, people, we cannot do that. Spend the additional money to engage the people to oversight it for you. Ask the contractor to provide a schedule. It can just be a basic list of times of delivery of key things. You know, your foundation, your wall, your roof, that kind of thing. Ask him to give you a cash flow of, you know, what you be expected to pay at these milestones so that you can have your payment ready, because you know the contractor will call you Thursday night and tell you say you need money Friday morning. Any change you want to make, please put it in writing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yours has been a very engaging presentation, Lenworth Kelly, and we thank you. For those who have questions, well, they seem to have enjoyed the witty manner in which you have made your presentation, Mr. Kelly, that they're still laughing and giving you all the thumbs up that there is. So it seems you've been quite clear from all indications. But listeners and viewers, please feel free to post your questions. We're seeing your comments. Very informative session. Lenworth for the win. My contractor used half of the money for himself and didn't pay the workers. This one, so there is somebody who stole whose money from investor. How do we ensure we do not engage with imposters, etc.? Discernment is very key. And so somebody says, come in with the contact info, sir. So they need your contact information, Mr. Kelly. They seem very satisfied with the presentation and all kinds of feedback. A master builder, shedding light, great job, etc. So while you respond to those messages and post your contact information, Mr. Kelly, we're going to get ready for the other presentations, except different presentations in the mode of wrapping. I see Del Maria saying, I was looking for building codes for renewable energy systems, plant, commercial, solar and wind farms and biogas plants, and cannot find this information readily. Therefore, I am wondering, where do we find building codes for commercial as well as residential investments and or site sustainability analyses? We'll give you this question and then we go to the next presenter, please.
Okay, so for your building codes, you have to check with the Bureau of Standards. You can speak to Mr. Richard Lawrence at the Bureau of Standards, Jamaica. Richard will be able to assist you. We don't have codes for everything. What we have done is adopted the International Building Code and added to that or what we call local application documents to fit local situations. So we don't currently have codes for every single thing, but for the major things, the residential code, fire code, and so on, we do have quite a suite there, but the Bureau of Standards can provide the best advice.
All right. Thank you very much. Well done, Mr. Lenworth Kelly, President of the Incorporated Master Builders Association of Jamaica. It's time now for us to hear from, once again, for the second time today, Dr. Nicoleen Johnson. She is the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council representative for Asia, the Asia Pacific region. And she will now bring us up to speed with some upcoming events before we make mention of one or two other participants of note who joined us according to their schedules. And then Nordia Teape, CEO of Integrated Diaspora Services Limited, will move the vote of thanks, followed by closing remarks from the Global Jamaica Diaspora Representative for Asia and the Pacific, Dr. Nicoleen Johnson. But it certainly has been overall an engaging, educational, and stimulating discussion, presentations, questions, interactions on this 1st of November 2021, Doing Business in Jamaica Property Procurement webinar. And let's hear what's up next, whether for Asia Pacific or the diaspora in general, from Dr. Nicoleen Johnson. Again, remember, all our presenters have been gracious enough to make themselves available. And if they have to pass on duties to their colleagues at work, they have been able to do so, so that all your questions are being answered, connections are being made, information is being gathered. Take full advantage of the opportunity. And those of you who have been doing that, more power to you. Over to Dr. Nicoleen Johnson, the Global Jamaica Diaspora Representative for the Asia Pacific region. Dr. Johnson? Well, I know it's evening time in China.
Thank you so
there
much.
You are. I thought you had dozed off in a manner of speaking.
Well, you know what? I'm so grateful to all our participants. We had nearly 100 still online, and it's very late. It's 10:30 in China, 11:30 in Japan, after midnight in Australia. So thank you for staying on. We really appreciate everyone. And I just wanted to add very quickly that we just want to remind you, the 9th Biannual Diaspora Conference in June of next year, the minister spoke about this. We want you to put it in your agenda, on your schedule, be there to represent Asia and the Pacific region, where it's usually pretty late for us. But if we have a good number signed up to be a part of that, then we can see, what can be done for our region. So please do keep that in mind and come on out and join. We are planning our next webinar, and we have not finalized the date. It will be early next year, but we'd love to get your feedback. So again, I just posted my email address. Please do send me an email. Give me some ideas of some topics that you're interested in, and then we will discuss with the missions in this region, and then we will let you know what will be next on our agenda. So that's it for me in terms of what's coming up next. Ambassador Richards, I'm not sure if we have anything planned for Japan at the moment that you'd like to add, or for the region.
Ambassador?
You're muted. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Not at the moment, but just to say congratulations on a well-organized and well-presented webinar, the very first, and we look forward to collaborating with you on further webinars. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And let's now get the official gratitudinal presentation from Nordia Teape. She's the CEO and co-founder of Integrated Diaspora Services Limited. And she will now officially thank all those who have been a part of this Doing Business in Jamaica Property Procurement webinar from Integrated Diaspora Services, Nordia Teape.
Senator, the Honorable Leslie Campbell, Minister of State, Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade. Her Excellency, Ms. Shorna-Kay Richards, Ambassador of Jamaica to Japan. His Excellency, Mr. Antonio Hugh, Ambassador of Jamaica to China. His Excellency, Mr. Jason Hall, High Commissioner of Jamaica to India. Mrs. Melissa Price, Minister Counselor and Deputy Head of Missions in China. To all the dignitaries, the diplomatic corps that are on board today. To all the members, everyone on board, A pleasant good morning to everyone on this platform and all those on social media. Certainly, this has been an informative and exceptional webinar. I'd first like to thank God for making this event a possibility and for giving us another opportunity to empower our people with the guidance and imperative information needed when making crucial decisions such as property ownership. On behalf of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, Asia and the Pacific region, and Integrated Diaspora Services Limited, we'd like to extend sincere gratitude to our guest speakers, the Minister of State, Senator the Honorable Leslie Campbell, Ambassador Shorna-Kay Richards, Dr. Nicoleen Johnson, and Dr. Kevin Brown for the warm and informative greetings extended today. To our competent speakers, experts in their own craft, we say a big thank you for adequately imparting the wisdom needed to our audience as they choose Jamaica as a destination of choice to invest and to live as they prepare to own their own piece of the rock. To Mr. Andrew James for showing the investment opportunities for the diaspora in the booming real estate market in Jamaica, as well as the importance of choosing a competent realtor. To the eloquent Sir Leighton and articulate Ms. James for their guidance. There's a poll on.
Yes, Sir Nordia, that's a poll. I'll just use the opportunity since it popped up that
Yes.
Please take note. Percival Hurdit, co-founder of Integrated Diaspora Services, just wanting us to share with all those on this webinar that there is a webinar poll. How would you rate the overall webinar, etc., etc.? And we encourage you to go ahead and express yourself quite freely how you feel about this this webinar as it draws to a close. So you can pick up from where you left off, Nordia.
All right, thank you. To Mr. Andrew James for showing the investment opportunities for the diaspora in the booming real estate market in Jamaica, as well as the importance of choosing a competent realtor. To the eloquent Sir Leighton and articulate Ms. James for their guidance on the financing and mortgage solutions available. To Mr. Dwayne Berbick, my former schoolmate, for skillfully articulating the benefits and financing solutions available for home ownership through National Housing Trust. We say a big thank you. To ensure that your legal rights are protected in the matter and that you also build on a solid foundation by choosing the right area and bidding contractors, we extend sincere thanks to Lady Tameka Jordan and Sir Lenworth Kelly, respectively, for sharing this invaluable wisdom with us today. To our capable host, Sir Dervan Malcom, your presence and eloquence has been an invaluable contribution to the success of this webinar. And sir, from the depths of our heart, we really want to say thank you. To Mr. Percival Erdit and the IDS team, and to the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, kudos on the great job done. Teamwork makes the dream work, and you have proven that. Now this webinar will be null and void, ladies and gentlemen, without you. So thank you for showing up from all over the world. It excites us to serve you. We understand and we're quite aware of the nuances, the pain sometimes with carrying out business here in Jamaica. And so Integrated Diaspora Services is designed to hold your hand and provide the guidance and connections needed in a trusted and convenient environment. We look forward to conducting more webinars in a similar fashion. Moreover, with our one-stop shop approach at Integrated Diaspora Services, we look forward to providing you with the hands-on assistance you need in conducting business in Jamaica and making your property ownership dreams a reality on the island and all the other needs you may have. From the acquisition of your tax registration number or TRN, which by the way, you all need, for those especially who have left Jamaica a long time ago to transact business here, you need your TRN. Connecting you with all the moving parts in the process, realtor, mortgage entity, lawyer, contractor to bill. And if you want to earn on your property while you're away, we also facilitate property management. And if you're on this forum with a property closed up, you can consider the short-term to long-term rental opportunity as well. All of what I just outlined and more are services offered by Integrated Diaspora Services, a dedicated team available 24/7. You will see our info in the chat. Please place your contact info in the chat so we can also email you a copy of this presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the rest of your day. Sleep good, walk good, and a big thank you to everyone. And we look forward to even more opportunities to serve in you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's lunchtime somewhere too, Nordia, so you could have said eat good.
Yes.
Thank you very much. All that's really left for us to do is to thank Nordia Teape for thanking everyone. Thank you very much, Nordia Teape. But of course, we have to give the last word to Dr. Nicoleen Johnson. Congratulations to her and her team of the Global Jamaica Diaspora Council, in particular, the Asia and Pacific region. Dr. Johnson, you get the last word.
Well, thank you, Dervan. What can I say? Nordia, you said it all. Thank you to everyone. We're so happy that you're able to join us on our first webinar for the region. And we look forward to having the next one. And we invite you, please do come and join us. Please sign up. We'll be sending out information, sending out more details. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to connect with you. So please do keep in touch. And please do register at the missions that are in your jurisdiction. We have just posted a few for Japan and for India, and we'll do the same for China as well. We'll send that out to you. Please, please, please do register, because the missions will be sending out information to our diaspora, and we want you to be connected, okay? So thank you again, Dervan, Malcom, you're amazing. Always, always good to work with you. And we look forward to our next event. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much. Muchísimas gracias. Merci beaucoup. 谢谢. Arigato hozamasai. Thank you very much. Love and respect to everybody. Enough respect from Jamaica to the world.
I choose ideas because they bring our hearts back. Hearts back home, the place I know, the place I go. My heart's back.